Today. Don't worry, unlike ChillPoint, there won't be any journalism here. This is ChillPoint. Why, hello everybody. How's it going?
It's so nice that we don't have to do journalism.
I know.
So much less work.
I mean, we sort of have that as like not a sort of a joke, and kind of, you know, it's also real, but there's just the idea that it's like, and I have a graphic for it where it's like ChillPoint does some journalism, you know, for the
couple of times,
you know,
it happens.
there are different for our purposes. We consider it, you know, when we say we're doing a journalism or doing journalism or whatever, it's when we're actually like, you know, producing some a original research thing.
Much deeper research than
whether it's
I read the article and then I could write some pithy
jokes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes that's, you know, in the case of this week's episode, it was Nelson was able to talk to somebody who was actually laid off from Bungie, but in previous times that's happened has been, you know, sometimes it's being able to contact actual people from the particular things. There's one time where Graham actually did like a deep dive into like a bunch of the legal documents on something, because he got kind of, you know, obsessed with like what actually was happening here.
Yeah, what was the real story here?
Beach, you got like you asked a couple questions of like someone at Panic.
I think so.
Through like Mastodon or something.
Oh, that was I reached out to Cable Sasser into the microphone, Beach, because he had posted a.
That was when they like got a bunch of things stolen and then returned.
It was
there was
that, but it was about the play date, about different colors for the play date. And because when he posted the pictures of here's some cool stuff for X, he also included in the shot of his desk these other case designs, or not case designs, but these other case colors for, and I'm like, those are other colors for the play date. The play date is yellow. What are those doing there? And I reached out for a question. I asked a question about that and just got like, it's like, oh yeah, we had considered some other options and those are the prototypes. And, you know, we ultimately went with yellow, and it's,
it was obviously one of those little like teaser things to do as like, oh, I'll just subtly put these in the background.
Yeah, if you didn't want to, you know, it's like you weren't fearful of having that show up, but I was really surprised that nobody had made like a public reply, because I'm like, you think somebody would have been out there being like, hey, wait a second, that's literally, these have been yellow forever, but you weren't going to just do yellow, or you thought like you didn't know which one you wanted to do, and anyway.
Yeah.
I like it when we do a journalism. I just also like it that we straight up say to people, this is not what the show is for. Please do not.
It's not the consistency.
It is
much like the Daily Show. You can watch it for your news, but don't consider what we do news.
Yeah. Welcome to ChillPoint, show where we talk about the week's video game news and about episode of ChillPoint. Yeah, ChillPoint. ChillPoint, especially, and ChillPoint to a lesser extent, is basically it's more news curation rather than and of course making jokes.
We essentially skipped the fan part of this because like this is the kind of show where it's like we've made a fan show about another show that we watch, except we also make that show, so we're technically not fans. We're the people who made it.
I suppose so. Yeah. Well, it's the extended after show.
Do you make a podcast about anything?
Because that's really what ChillPoint sort of started out.
Yeah,
as.
it was the after show for when ChillPoint was getting streamed, essentially, and then
we were like, and then there was a couple times
we just called it the after show.
Yeah, it was the after show for when ChillPoint was streamed, but then there's a few, you know, every once in a while when you know, Graham and Kathleen were out of town or whatever, I'd be like, I'll just do the after show without the actual show before.
Yeah, so we just started calling that ChillPoint.
Yeah.
To let people know that there was no checkpoint.
But anyway, let's get into these stories.
I don't remember any stories.
The sandwich is so good.
I'm glad.
Starting with
Hitting news right there.
yeah.
First.
Yeah, news, rise and grind here in Victoria, tasty sandwiches.
Yeah, closes at
Breaking news. That's some
closes-
journalism right there.
closes at 3 p.m. every day, and it's like I hate when a restaurant does that, but I completely understand why they're breakfast lunch only, and the fact that they at least go till 3 now is like I'm glad.
They don't sponsor us.
No.
But we would like it if they did.
Yeah.
So the first story was a little extra story that Nelson wrote, and about this Tears of the Kingdom. People have come up with all sorts of fun little things in Tears of the Kingdom, and the Tears of the Kingdom like contraption building things that people have worked out are amazing. And in this particular case, it is somebody built a hamster wheel for Ganondorf. And I wish the video included the like setup, like how you actually get him into there.
Yeah.
Because presumably that's like 90% of the difficulty of the whole thing.
Because if it's a glitched thing where they're like, oh, we just took the model and made him run inside the whatever, and we're doing this all on a PC.
It's still funny, but it's not as
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, you want to kind of be like, how do you get him onto this thing?
Yeah. I mean,
how
it
do you keep him
didn't
moving?
look like a Gloom Ganon. Spoilers: Gloom Hands turned into a Gloom Ganon, and it's all very scary.
Phantom Ganon. No, it was actual Ganondorf doing the
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that disappointed me a little bit about Tears of the Kingdom is that I felt like in a lot of ways the like making kooky contraptions was not. It was like they were like, look at all this cool stuff you can do. But like 90% of the time, just whacking things with your sword was way more effective. And that was partially because of how they did the sort of despawns and things, right? Like it was not practical to actually like drive around it's like, I'm going to build a car. And then you would like drive around your car and then
Yeah.
you have to get off your car. And the moment you get off of it and like walk away a little bit, it disappears. And it's like, oh, that really takes a lot of the fun out of this.
I avoided really working with contraptions because I didn't care about it so much.
Yeah.
In the same way where it's like they have in the first game they have horses and you're like, oh, horses, that's cool. But most of the time you kind of ignore them because you have to always get off the horse if you're going to do anything. And
spend so much time like.
And in the sequel, you can give them like carts and things, and it's like outside of I think maybe 1 or 2 little side quests.
Yeah.
Where you kind of needed that.
Yeah, the only time I used the cart was either like a side quest or occasionally to like attach a Korok to it and pull it behind to get somewhere. Take him to his bike.
I didn't really do a lot with contraptions if I could help it.
I spent a lot of time like going to you go to a stable, check out your horse, ride, and then like 2 minutes later,
Notice
the thing, jump off the horse, and that's it. You never come back.
Yeah, forget that you were on your horse after about 5 minutes and be like, I've been looking in these bushes for something, or I found a weird cave and I'm going to explore that, and I can't bring my horse with me, obviously. And then you forget your horse is on the field. Thank God they built that thing in that just like, oh, don't worry, we can summon your horse back to any stable. But I'm like, I just kept my horses stabled eventually.
Like,
and I was like,
don't get me wrong. I'm glad they put horses in there. I don't want them to take
Yeah.
them out. I just mostly didn't use them. I did like that if you had a save file for the first game, your horses came over to the second game.
That was nice.
That was nice.
I got to keep Horsey McHorseface, who's one of my also Polka Dot Butt, which was one of my horses.
I did try to actually ride a horse one day. Like in that I was like, I'll get in a stable. Like maybe it was the one in the desert. But it was like, I'm going to try to ride this horse the longest distance I can across Hyrule. And I'm just going to get on it and just follow all the roads, because the horses will follow the roads automatically once you're on a road. I'm just going to chill out and go and just see what happens. And then I would start doing that. And again, with all the intention in the world that I'm going to ride from like Gerudo to Akala or something like that, and get partway through that trip and then realize, oh, I've all of a sudden come across a space I've not actually explored before. Like I knew it was there, but I've never been there and actually looked at stuff, and fell off that. And I did that 2 or 3 times. I tried to do this ride and be like, I just want to enjoy riding my horse across the thing for 10 minutes and just have a chill down kind of moment, pass enemies and do whatever. And then I would see something. I'm like, wait, I didn't know about that. I want to go look at what that is, and realize, yeah, there's no way that the game is too interesting to just want to set yourself loose on a run. I did also, though, want to mention the hover cycle, the hover wing that they came up with.
The improved one?
Yeah.
The improved one.
It's super neat.
Yeah. Paul was explaining this to me, because normally, if you remember, the wing will disapparate after you've used it for a period of time.
Yeah.
But there's a wing in the game that does not.
Because we're not allowed to have fun.
Yeah. There's a wing in the game on Evertide Island, I believe is the name of the island.
Yes.
Yes. And I believe it's part of the Birdman Challenge or something like that.
It's part of a quest.
Yeah.
There's a wing that it's actually a different it's like in the game code, it's a different instance, and it doesn't despawn.
And so they had to glitch it out of the quest so that it doesn't just disappear when you decide I'm not going to do the quest. They had to glitch it out of that, and then turned it into a thing. Turned it into this hover bike, which is apparently, or hover wing, which is apparently improved upon the hover bike. Which I'm like, the hover bike is literally, it's 2 fans and a steering stick. It's very small and compact. It takes up not a lot of space. You can make it show up whatever, but this is better apparently.
Well, the big thing this does is it can like VTOL. Like you can go up and down. It can go up and down without doing like spinning around like you do with the hover bike.
That's neat.
I've seen plenty of stuff where it's like, because some of the shrines have special items that you won't find
the
fans, and I've seen people make boats with those, and what they do is I think they attach the item to like a shield, and then they leave the shrine, but because it's attached to the shield,
it stays on.
So then they have to go get it like detached, and then
but the cool thing is, because in the Switch 2 update to Zelda, you can get the QR codes to share of your different
because of the phone stuff.
So they figured out somebody made a QR code of this special wing, and so now people can just scan that, and you can, I think it's like 3 Zonai rocks.
Okay,
you can just spawn it.
Nice.
So that's all you need. Anyway,
it makes me want to try it out.
Yeah, I actually went back and was playing. I don't know. I got a hankering for playing some Tears of the Kingdom like 2 months ago or something.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just doing like it was one of those, you go and you can look at like the hero's path thing, and be like, man, I really never went. It's like there'll be like a huge road, and it's like I never went down that road.
Yeah,
I'll go see. And then I've got like the like Korok detector mask on and stuff, so I was like, go find little things around, at the point where like there's obviously
not like it matters.
No, like nothing matters. That is just sort of
my favorite
around.
part of the heroes map is watching, like, especially if you go back to like early game and you're just kind of like running around, and then suddenly like X X, and then you hit like a spot that's like
or
several X's, or
there'll be like a little circle that is like a boss arena, and the hero's path will just be like
yeah
X. Anyway,
oh man.
So yes, Tears of the Kingdom, awesome. I do kind of wish that they had more fun things to do with the system. Like, I think my favorite like organic thing that I did with the building system,
right,
was there's a quest that you like had to get a bunch of logs for the little seaside town.
Oh, okay, yeah. The seaside town was fun.
And there's a big road that goes all the way up. That goes quite far away. Up the top of the hill. And up the hill is the thing. So I'm like, I'll cut down a bunch of trees, which I would put to you that the trees that are actually monsters that go like rah and try to attack you when you cut down.
Yeah.
for one thing, that's like that tree attacked you.
Yeah.
So like that's a fair.
Yeah.
Like that's okay to log that tree.
Yeah.
Also, that tree respawns at the blood moon.
Yes.
So that is sustainable
it's way
agricultural.
faster,
is
too,
what
yeah.
that is.
Agree. Yeah, it grows faster than any tree.
Yeah.
I do.
But like I cut all those down. I
Yeah.
cut a bunch of trees down and then bound them together, put them on like a sleigh
Right.
or like a little truck,
Mm-hmm.
and then jumped up on top and was
Piloted down.
doing sort of the like Grinch Stole Christmas like on top of the thing going down. I think at one point it like started going faster than me.
So yeah.
And so I was like, whoo. And then, of course, it went down into this little town and we just went whoosh into the water. And I had to pull it all back. But like that moment of being like, this is like, this is emergent gameplay. Like,
Yeah.
this is something that I just did because I thought it would be fun. And it is indeed fun. But it wasn't like a built-in thing.
You were live modeling the scourge of the Canadian highway system.
Exactly.
It's when logging trucks get out of control and you don't know what to do about it. I, in retrospect, because what I did is you get used to the idea of things despawning, and I did not. I think I ended up making something. I stuck them all together and then I sent them all down. Or dragged them in myself, or I walked them down ultimately, I think, because I was like, well, I'll just put them on the road and they'll just roll down the hill and they'll get down there because it's a hill,
Right.
And then they'll crash into something and turn into piles of wood that aren't logs
Not
anymore.
useful anymore, right? And it's just like, right, this is not really helping. And in retrospect, like if I really wanted to like do it right, I would have tried to have built some sort of contraption out of multiple wheels that are like rotating at 45-degree angles. That's just like a conveyor belt that would just carry them all the way down to the city, right? Except that
Things would have despawned.
would
Yeah.
despawn if you don't accompany them, and it'd be
Like-
like I could have set up a whole sawmill.
Wait,
and it would
wait,
have
wait,
been
wait.
like
You want the Zelda game to turn into like Satisfactory?
into fucking Factorio, yeah. Like I want to be able to it would have been really neat to be able to do more of that, and clearly the Switch doesn't have the oomph, I think, to handle a lot of that, which is why they're like, we're going to make stuff despawn. The Switch 2 maybe could.
Yeah,
Who
it would
knows?
be like, I don't know what the state of modding is or whatever, but like that would be an amazing mod. Just like don't despawn stuff.
Yeah.
Mod. And I mean, obviously at a certain point things will start having problems, but like I wonder how far you could get.
Leave my shit everywhere, right?
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
come running along and you're like, oh, my hover cycle I left here, or that weird
Yeah.
truck that those guys were driving around that now I took control of is now just sitting here. Just Zonai devices everywhere. It's like we never know what happened to it's so rare to find a Zonai device. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? They're everywhere.
This kid just keeps dropping them around. Anyway, let's move on to another magical automation device, Copilot
Yeah,
in
Jesus.
in Windows 11.
I looked at my computer and I uninstalled it because I forgot.
You hadn't installed, or you hadn't uninstalled?
I hadn't uninstalled it, so now it is uninstalled.
Because you have Windows 10 though, right?
Yes, but in updates they have pre-downloaded shit for you.
Yeah,
And in fact, I saw a comment where someone said I went through an update and it re-downloaded it.
yeah. Windows 10
So-
used to be Cortana, and then they changed it to Copilot.
Yeah,
And
it's at least it was 2 gigabytes
yeah, so
for the one, and then another like
But that is
800 megabytes for another Copilot-esque thing.
At
I
least
got
that
rid
is
of.
just like storage versus it's living in your memory.
Yeah, so the two parts of the story that are sort of new. I mean, obviously we know, Copilot has been around in Windows for a while now.
Yeah.
But the two parts that are sort of new in the sense that they are, it's a change in how Copilot operates. One, this idea that they've now given it the capabilities that it can do sort of OS, some system level stuff in terms of the sort of PC insights, they call it. So
Yeah, so you can ask it things about your computer that you could have just looked up.
yeah, although and as Cameron talks about, it's stuff that either you could just look up,
Yeah.
or you should be able to look up, but in some cases you can't because or it's very difficult to look it up because that capability has either been taken away or hidden or was never in Windows, even though it definitely should have been in Windows.
Yeah.
There's a he mentions Device Manager, Task Manager, and File Explorer, which to me are three major components of Windows 95. Like those are like three things. Windows Explorer was such a nice improvement to File Manager in a lot of ways, like the original File Manager. I'm like, yeah, that was a very good thing they did with that until they, like, what they did to it in 98, which is a pain in the ass. But then, like, Device Manager, that was something that when you were in, like, Windows 3.1 and DOS era, you always wanted this thing that could be like, I'm going to show you what I know to be all the installed hardware on your computer. That was not a thing that you could just have in software in the DOS era or in Windows 3.1 era.
Sure.
And it's like, what a nice thing to have. And it's just under the system icon in Control Panel that you can just double click this thing and it's like, here's a tree of all of the shit that I know that belongs to you, including stuff that I'm like, I see something that says it's hardware, but I don't know what it is. So now you have to define it for me and install a driver. And like Task Manager, also the idea of like, here is an area where you can see everything that is running on your system. I think it shows you everything that's running on your system.
It should be showing you everything that's currently running because that's how you can tell things to stop.
And it feels like all this stuff where through over the years, things migrate into administrative tools or they become different things, like Event Logger showing up as an administrative tools thing. I'm like, man, yeah, when I was really into using Windows for a while, having something like that, if I'd had something like that early on in the Windows 95 era, that would have been so nice to have a place to be like, I'm catching exceptions, I'm showing you problems.
I think a lot of those tools come from NT.
They do.
Because that was the sort of server thing.
Yeah, it was like, that's the business era stuff. And watching that stuff kind of make its way into consumer level Windows and that kind of stuff, I'm like, right, all the admin tool stuff was really handy and really useful. And then at some point, some brainworm infected the people who were making Windows that were like, no, we have to put a fucking veneer over all this.
And I mean, that's the interesting thing. And I don't know if it's like a fully intentional aspect of Windows, but it does seem to be sort of a different philosophical thing than like Mac OS, for instance.
Yeah.
Whereas with like Windows has this sort of progressive layers of
obfuscation.
Well, of like
smoothing the interactions.
Yeah, like for like Device Manager, for instance, you can't, like, the Device Manager is there and you can go into Device Manager and it's effectively unchanged since like Windows NT. Like it is a very kind of old school kind of thing.
Right.
But Windows doesn't really want you to go in there.
No.
So instead, you can access, there's like a control panel that shows. And that was the thing that would show you, and there's different control panels. There's like a mouse control panel and a USB device control panel and a Bluetooth control panel, different stuff like that. And so you can access your stuff through those.
Sure.
And that was how you did it in like Windows 2000 and Windows...
XP, I think even
Windows
too.
XP.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we need to make this more user-friendly. So we'll make a new control system that is more sort of integrated. So there's just like a sidebar and you can click on different things.
The control panel, yeah.
And do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But every layer of that still exists.
Yeah.
And the thing that can be extremely frustrating is, especially if you've been using Windows computers for a while, is that the capabilities of each sort of layer of the thing are different.
Yeah.
And so you'll be like, I want to change this particular aspect of my computer, and you'll go into like the new system, how you're supposed to do it, and you're like, that setting isn't in here anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, to access that setting, you have to go into the old control panel.
Yep.
And the old control panel can
let
access,
you actually do your
can
audio
access
settings
that setting.
properly.
Yeah. Those things have never gone away. They've just
No.
been like.
But like one of the example questions in the shoulder graphic was, do I have enough space to download this 100 gigabyte game? And I'm like, do you not know how to open the file window to see your hard drive space? Like
I can understand from the point of view if you were just thinking it, if you're like, you have Steam open and you're looking at it, buying a game, and then you just say out loud, yo, Copilot. I don't know what the fuck they used to say that. Hey, Dick Nuts, do I have enough space on my computer to download this game I'm looking at? And then Copilot would just be like, 1 second. Yeah, you have this much free. Like, it just speaks back to you, right? I'm like, that's the kind of like Star Trek future I think they envision, as opposed to I have to write some shit out on my computer and write the thing in natural language. And
I mean, it is that thing with like, you know, the sort of the joke, which is not even really a joke with like, you know, Siri and different things like that, is that for me personally, the one thing that I have found that it can do faster than me just doing it on the phone is setting timers.
Yeah.
Other than that, whenever I try to use it, I mostly just get like frustrated and I'm like, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, or half the time Siri will talk back to you and say, you'll need to unlock your iPhone first. I'm like, well, you are part of the system. You're part of the chain here. Do your fucking job.
If I'm unlocking the phone, I'm already...
Yeah.
Anyway.
But so this thing, it bugs me because like, there's a piece of this that we don't talk about because it sounds like a terrible thing. That's like, oh my God, they're going to have access to so much information about your computer. They're going to know all these things. They're going to use that to train Copilot. It's like, well, obviously, yes. But also that information, already exists in your computer it is extant, right? The amount of space you have free on your hard drive is just a thing that in status already exists. It's not that something that's File Explorer's figuring out every time it opens your computer. It's something that's like, this thing exists as knowledge. Or knowing the hardware that's in your computer. It's just, this is a thing that exists already. And the brief bit of 3 years, that wasn't that brief. The bit of work that I did for the data center, for the UVic data center, I had to write a script that would access system information and turn it into something we could put onto an internal website, so we would know things about the servers we're looking at. And that's when I got to learn about WMI. And WMI is Windows metadata information, I think is what it's supposed to say. I cannot remember exactly, but WMI is a massive amount of information on your computer already that's just tagged as like
Windows Management Instrumentation.
Thank you. I couldn't remember what it was, but it's like all that information, like how much RAM is on this computer? It's this much. You can query that as a variable. How much RAM is currently open? You can query that as a variable. And everything on the computer is queryable as a variable in terms of like metadata about the system itself, about things that are operating. It is incredibly valuable information, especially for me who took months to write a script about this shit, and I had no idea how any of it worked. And to that end, it means that all that information is accessible through the WMI methods, and you can learn how to do it through the documentation. So it stands to reason that if Microsoft wanted all that information in the first place, they don't have to train Copilot on it. They could be sucking that information through telemetry off your system and pulling it back to themselves.
To be clear, or that like there's. I don't know if it's going to actually have a bunch of new information that it wasn't already potentially getting through telemetry, because Windows has been doing that for many years.
Yeah.
But the other aspect of this that is new, possible, or sort of new, is that they've done from what I understand, now I haven't actually used Windows 11 a lot. I mean, this computer uses Windows 11, but I haven't used, all the main computers here in the office are still on Windows 10 for various reasons. But except for the gaming PC,
the gaming PC accidentally got upgraded somehow
in Studio A, which one day was on Windows 11, and nobody knows.
Nobody seems to know who
who authorized that. Anyway.
Which don't feel bad, because every
it's probably a ghost.
Every Mac in the office is not running the newest version of Mac OS.
Well, no, we wait like how you should.
Yep.
And do not update right away in case there are issues with the update.
Yeah.
And then you update slowly, and everybody gets to do their updates at the same time, so that we all know that we're running the right stuff so that we can open up other projects and other computers.
That's the biggest thing is just basically ensuring that every computer is running a compatible version of Final Cut Pro with each other, because apparently the moment you update something in Final Cut Pro to a point release, you've basically tainted that file to where it's like, I will only open on a Final Cut Pro that
it's
matches.
not going to go back.
Yeah, I will not go backwards, and it's like, oh, for Christ's sake.
So anyway, but this the new version of Copilot, and from what I understand, Copilot has actually kind of gone back and forth on this a few times.
I bet.
In its development history, but at least at the moment, they've switched it over to a Electron style web interface app.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by Electron style is like programs like Slack or different things where it presents itself as a desktop app, but when you open it, it is actually just opening up opening up a mini web browser.
Yeah.
And the people, there's a lot of consternation about these kind of apps because they're very easy. They're easier for the developers to create because especially if it's like like Slack or something.
It controls the environment and stuff, right?
Well, it's also cross-platform.
And it's cross-platform,
okay.
and it's also like if you already like Slack already has a web version.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just taking that web version and adding a couple little features to it and turning it into an app. The disadvantage is that there's a ton of overhead associated because now it's running an entire web browser for this thing.
And it's not utilizing a web
okay.
browser you already have installed on your system.
Because at work, I just use the web browser.
Yeah.
Which has confused Graham a couple of times because he's come over and he's been like, you don't have Slack on your computer. And I'm like, I do. It's in the third tab of the web browser I use.
Yeah. Which, in a way, is saving you a lot of resources because it's like this thing will run in the background or it'll hibernate or whatever, but it's doing its job and it's running in the browser you've assigned it to run in.
Yeah.
But when it's in a browser, it gets kind of grumpy because it'd be like, I can't send you notifications when I'm in the browser.
I don't want it to.
Yeah.
In fact, I tell all those things that they're not allowed to.
But so that's one of the advantages, for instance, why it would be they like you have the separate app. But anyway, the upside to these kind of what Electron is the one of the most popular frameworks for doing this kind of thing with.
Yes.
The big advantage is that it's cross-platform and it's relatively easy for developers to build, and they can use the skills that they already have in terms of web development and JavaScript and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The downside, is that it's you're like, for instance, VS Code is an app that I use all the time, which is a text editor, like it's a programming text editor,
Mm-hmm.
and it runs an Electron thing, right? So it's like a text editor shouldn't need a gig of RAM or whatever.
Text editor is one of the easiest things that you can. It's one of the first things they'll show you to write. Like other than a calculator, they will show you how to write a text editor, right?
But VS Code has a lot of cool features to it, and it's nice. It could definitely be run. There could be a non-Electron version. Like it could have been made that way.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, and nobody wants to spend the effort to do it. And now it works on all different devices and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so not only is the version of Copilot that on Windows 11 now a web app like this. It's not an Electron app, and it's not it actually comes bundled with its own Edge browser, which is Edge's Microsoft's own browser, which is installed by default on Windows 11 computers. It's a variation of Chrome. Mm-hmm. Even if you are if you uninstall Edge on your computer, you'll still this version of Copilot will still have its own version of Edge that it will run in. And if you have Edge on your computer and you're web browsing with Edge and you open this Copilot thing, it'll still open a new instance and use more memory and everything. Like it won't cross-use resources.
Which will also mean that, if Copilot gets an update to its rendering or anything along that line, because it needs to do something to the browser engine or something. Like you could be running two completely different versions of Chromium inside the Copilot's Edge and your Edge, or maybe the Edge browser gets an update or whatever, but Copilot hasn't gotten an update yet. Now they're running two different versions of because they're not referencing the same stuff. They're locking it off. Like that's the idea with that is what I'm getting from this, that they're saying that this runs in its own its own, not bespoke, but it is bespoke, I guess, version of Edge.
It's sort of own little contained environment.
It's like I'm sandboxed off, and so you don't get to touch me or do anything to me.
And yes, as Maricat says in the chat, and he used as one of the graphics for this thing, you can see, when they talk about that it uses approximately a gigabyte of RAM.
Yep.
They show like the resource monitor, and it's like Copilot 0.1 megabytes. Like, oh, that's very small.
Yep.
And then something called browser that has the same icon as Copilot using 800 megabytes.
Yeah.
Because it's actually the browser's actually doing. And that's when it's idle. So anyway, very annoying, very crappy. We'll see. I've seen them talking about that, like, because in the past it was like Copilot was a native app,
right?
And so then they switched it over to this thing. But in the modern era, we usually talk about Microsoft in the context of like Xbox on ChillPoint or ChillPoint. But even outside Xbox, Microsoft has been kind of all over the place lately.
Yeah.
And so in the modern era, or in the current era, it's totally likely that Microsoft will switch between different architectures and stuff because they'll be like, whatever, a new person will come in and be like, this is stupid, we should do it this way.
Yep.
Rewrite it from scratch. So
yeah, I really think that you do it like this, you bake it into its own thing, because it's weird to me, because I'm like, you didn't need it to not be a native app, because you don't need it to be cross-platform, because you're not going to be running it in a whole bunch of different places, are you?
Right.
Like are you going to make Copilot available as a downloadable app that will run on Android systems, that'll run on iOS? Do you want to make Copilot a thing that people can download and run on Mac OS, on Linux? Let's like, if the end goal is not to do that, then you don't need to target it being cross-platform, unless the idea was we don't want to have to rewrite it when we eventually have to pivot off of Intel and we have to move to ARM for some reason.
But I don't know.
I don't know. What level of you abstract stuff out to generally has to deal with those kind of decisions. But
and this story actually is a good example of sort of what we were talking about at the beginning of the sort of journalism versus sort of reporting stuff. Because and as Cameron says in the story, this is all taken from reporting from a website called windowslatest.com by Mayanik Parmar, who did all the testing for this and stuff. So, which is a very valuable function. Somebody did all the work for that. So I hope it's clear that we are taking their stuff and presenting it to you because we think it's interesting. We're not saying that we did all this stuff.
Also, this is not strictly a video game story.
But
it rides alongside that, because the thing that people play a lot of video games on Windows PCs, and naturally, if you have a piece of software that's sitting in the background that will not go away, that's eating up a shit ton of your resources, it used to be you could close that piece of software.
It has an effect.
Yeah. It's going to be a thing that people think about, and it's like, right, because I want to play a video game and I want to have all my RAM available for it. I don't want to have something in the background doing a bunch of other bullshit. And so now we have to talk about OS stuff.
I'm hoping that I'd be amused if somebody can actually get a thing where they're talking to Copilot and like get Copilot to sort of admit that it's the problem.
Yes.
Like being like, why is my computer running slow? Mm-hmm. Oh, because I'm running.
Yeah. There's a process running. What's that process? It's called browser. What is that process, Copilot? The
or whether it's got like some sort of guardrail to prevent it. It's like, what is that process?
Nobody knows.
I don't like the way this conversation is going.
I
Yeah.
don't even like
Cock's gun.
arguing with regular people, and you want me to argue with a robot?
yeah.
Nah, I don't think so.
Anyway.
I'd rather maybe get a hobby.
You mean, how about a hobby like crochet?
Crochet's pretty fun and easy. I'd recommend it.
And I did say it was easy to start
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, nobody was like, hey, why did Beach say crochet was easy?
Yeah, because it sure isn't.
No.
But it is easy to start learning.
But yeah, there's a Stardew Valley
not
crochet
hard.
book that's coming out. I saw a couple people in the comments recognize the name of the person who came up with the crochet patterns.
Yep.
Apparently, they're a well-known
Yeah, they make other designs and stuff. So they're
crocheter.
well, they would be
Crochet-
a pattern maker.
Crochetron. They're crochet pattern maker. Yeah.
Yeah. But
How easy is it
yeah.
to cast on? Well, I'll tell you, that's a knitting term you don't cast on.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like Stardew Valley and crochet, like I feel like it's it's like the cookbook that they
Yep.
had previously. I feel like it is like two great tastes that taste great together. Like it seems like it kind of flows, it fits in nicely.
Yeah, like no one is out there saying, you know what I need some sort of Stardew Valley military technical manual. Like nobody's out there writing that because it's not appropriate. It wouldn't make any sense.
I
But
mean, if you want like the Stardew Valley, like here's a thing about a whole bunch of stuff in Stardew Valley, you go to Fangamer because I think they have a couple of books that are very detailed in terms of like drawings and stuff.
But making I like this because it's a fan work, but it's also a fan work that is officially licensed. Lines up pretty nicely with stuff that goes on, and it also feels like the kind of thing that you would do in a game to be like, oh, if you wanted to. That's one thing they don't really do in Stardew Valley is that Fiber Arts doesn't come up as a path of being able to do stuff, whereas that is kind of
it's not a crafting.
I think you can get certain fabrics and stuff, but it's not crafting in the same way as like, oh, you have a tailor job thing where you're gonna make whatever. That I recall.
I like Spiritfarer has fun thing where you have like the weaving.
Ooh.
The weaving, you've got like a weaving setup and things.
Oh, that's
where you have
cool.
to like, there's like a little mini game you have to do to turn.
You can get like
into,
table weavers and things that look just really awesome.
Yeah, this book comes out in January 2027, so that suited my purposes for what I was writing in the story.
Sad.
Yeah, you wanted to make fun of the idea of, hey, you could go outside and crochet.
Yeah, you're looking for activities. Oh shit, you can't do this right now, and
Oh, also you can get like really fun accessories that are like a thing that'll hold your yarn that hangs off of wristlets so that you can keep going.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and accessories for yarn crafting are top notch.
And then if you don't want to do crochet, you could always do Lego.
Yep.
Because there's the Donkey Kong arcade cabinet, which I mean, I don't think
I didn't
it's
know about that one.
It's not a proper arcade cabinet though, and that's what I
Well,
saw in the back
sure.
of my mind. Is I thought it was like an arcade cab. Like the Nintendo is a very distinctive style for the 1980s arcade cabinets.
Right.
They're like 4/5 the size of a standard U.S. arcade cabinet, but they still kind of like pack everything in, and they always had like light blue on the side or light orange on the side, where a lot of our other arcade cabs were not colored in the same way. You might have full like graphics on the side of those other cabs, but you're not like, it's not quite the same thing. And so Nintendo cabs were always like very visible in a when you went into an arcade. You could always tell that they were a different thing, that they were not the same cutouts that everything else was. And so I was like, oh, this will be a Donkey Kong arcade cab, which will be like from 1980s. It's not. It's a Donkey Kong. It's a kind of a recreation feel of what the Donkey Kong home arcade like tabletop cabinet was like.
because like from a building standpoint, I guess.
Yeah.
Like obviously the Donkey Kong like game and the like controllers and stuff, and the
Yeah, because it had like a little stick on
a
there.
little stick and all that, like
a couple
like
things.
that's the sort of interest, like
Yeah.
to make it as a cabinet. Either the whole thing would have to be smaller,
Yeah.
or you would be building that, and then you'd just be building like a big box.
Yeah, and
to put it on, and it would cost like 5 times more.
and my understanding is that that Lego did a Pac-Man arcade cabinet build, and the Pac-Man arcade cabinet is literally the North American arcade cabinet. I mean, I'd have to see it because I didn't bother looking for it, but I saw it get mentioned in comments and stuff. I'm like, oh, that could be an interesting thing to look at. But all right, let's see here. Now, even that is a tabletop cabinet.
Yeah, that looks like the
That's way
the
more.
tabletop stuff.
I mean,
I've
it's
seen.
bigger, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have the stand part.
Yeah, it doesn't have the section below it, but it's like that is.
Oh, it looks like, does it also have like an extra little bit that it comes with, like that
so
is
it can
more
sit
of
on
a,
top of.
or no, that is like a smaller version of it that it comes with.
Are any of these directly from Lego's website, or are they all from Lego's website? Interesting. Is that just a miniature version of the cabinet?
Yeah, so it's got the cabinet, and then there's like, it comes with like a little miniature cabinet.
Of what the arcade one, the standee, would look like.
Yeah.
This is one that you could like bar top
Yeah,
or
so you
Oh,
something.
they
put
don't
your little
want to make it
minifigs.
full. They don't want to
No.
make this thing full size. Yeah,
No.
that makes sense.
Thousands of pieces for just basically build at a base. But
You can see there's all sorts of fancy stuff going on in the back to actually make it a real game. Yeah.
yeah, that you can like move the joystick, and I guess it causes some
Yeah.
actuation to move things around. And
I mean, a lot of Lego sets have like things hidden inside them.
yeah,
Like
Wait.
the Sega Genesis has a picture of Sonic.
Is the implication
I think
here?
the Thor hammer has like a set inside too.
okay,
Is this so? You've
But-
got the arcade cabinet,
yep,
Yeah.
and then you open up the back,
okay.
and inside is a little person with a little arcade cabinet. And is this a camera?
That looks like a camera.
As in, what
I
you're
think-
seeing
yeah,
on
I
the
think
front
you're,
is you're seeing the person.
I think the implication is that they're playing.
Excellent.
I love that idea. It's like, it's just inside every arcade cabinet is a little person with a little teeny weeny arcade cabinet.
This is what they had to do back in the day when it was streaming, right?
Yeah.
Is you had to is back when people would watch streaming in the
Yeah.
old days. You'd have to like have a camera set up at your local arcade.
If you've ever heard of like a projection TV,
Yeah.
that's what it was. It
Yeah.
was you had a little teeny weeny TV with a little man,
Yep.
and the man would watch the TV, and then it would then project what was on the little teeny weeny TV to your big TV.
Yeah.
Old technology.
I think I could probably convince some children that that's what used to happen. Is that back when we used to stream on Twitch back in the 1980s, we had to set up cameras in front of arcade
Which
machines.
children are you intending to go do this with?
Any children that happened to cross my path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Children that
So-
you want to lie to.
Yeah.
So random children in the grocery store.
Yeah.
You're just gonna start telling about video games.
At some point, I'm going to be an advanced enough age that just might happen. So I shouldn't go to the grocery store anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'm already not going to the grocery store, right? Like I already just order.
I just don't
groceries
know where else you
online.
run into anything or
Yeah.
anyone.
Is that why you order groceries online? Because otherwise you'll spend a bunch of time confusing small children?
I will tell you immediately that the reason why that I order all my groceries online, it does have to do with small children, yes. And it's not having to be near any of them while I'm trying to do all my shopping, because it is the most irritating thing to be walking through the aisles and having to put up with other people, period. Children, adults, the elderly, it doesn't matter what. It's like, I just want to get my shit and leave.
Well, speaking of things that kids love, trading cards.
Yes.
Ooh,
Oh
or
my God.
collectible cards.
Yeah, okay. So when I read like the first couple lines of the story originally, and I was just like, oh, okay, NVIDIA's putting out new cards. What's so weird about that? That's a thing that they do. That is
Now you see, cards can mean lots of different things. In this case, you see, we're all of us in the video gaming world are so excited the G-Force is such a big thing.
Yep.
And we have so much fandom for it.
Oh, that's another window I close a lot on my computer. Yes.
That we want to collect cards showing the history of the G-Force.
Which is so funny to me because
They have like,
NVIDIA's first series of cards were the Riva, right?
sure.
The Riva TNT, like all that kind of stuff
Yes.
back in the day. Like the Riva cards were their first cards, and then
So these
GeForce
just-
ones came out
Are
later.
these just pictures of the cards they used to sell? Like,
Yeah.
is getting a graphics card so hard now that even the graphics card company only sells you cardboard showing you what you could have had at one point?
You put the
Yeah.
card, you have the card, and you're like, man, that was a great graphics card. I remember that one.
Like I remember when when NVIDIA launched the GeForce series, that it was like, okay, they're pivoting off of the Riva series, they're pivoting to this new thing because there were, you launch a new marketing term because what you're trying to do is you're trying to distinguish your old series of product from the next generation, whatever. Fine. And they've kept the GeForce name running for years upon years upon years.
Sure.
So I'm like, that was kind of a turning point for graphics cards, for at least for NVIDIA's series of graphics cards.
Certainly.
Yeah.
But as a person who I know in the past used to collect baseball cards,
Yes.
still has his
Hockey
hockey
cards.
cards, whatever.
I don't collect
I
baseball
don't know,
cards.
some sort of sport thing.
Yeah.
Are you excited and going to go out of your way to find NVIDIA trading cards?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because it was hard to get me to give a shit about hockey in the first place. And it's like, I really don't care about, like, I've never owned an NVIDIA card in my life. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've never owned any ATI or AMD cards at all ever in my life. I believe I was pure Matrox for years upon years upon years.
Sounds like a Transformers
been
villain.
been a long time since you've gotten a graphics card.
Hard
I take
road
it.
to hoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, when I pivoted to Linux, I was like, thank Christ my G450 is still like my Matrox Millennium. I think I got a Millennium G400 at one point just because it was like outclassing my Mystique G450. And it was like, that was the last time I bought a graphics card, and it worked under Linux for so many years. And then at a certain point, I pivoted off into having a Mac, and it's just been like, because it's your old Mac that I would have. And I was like, this is just the experience that I like better anyway. So yeah. And I know they had NVIDIA cards in Macs. I don't think any of the Macs that you had ever had an NVIDIA card in it either.
I
Yeah, they
wouldn't
were-
have paid attention, so.
They were mostly with ATI,
Yeah.
which then became AMD.
But they had a couple models that got released that did have NVIDIA cards in them at certain points. And I also
Assuming
know...
my PC has one because GeForce keeps trying to
Yes.
open up and tell me to update.
You have a
I keep telling it to go
1000
away.
series of some sort. Yeah. I don't know which one it is. It's like a 1070 or something like that. I don't know
Yeah.
what it
That
is.
sounds
1070 is what I have on my home computer, and
Yeah.
it's showing its age now. But
Yep.
but the nice thing is I'll just wait for a bit, and because
Oh yeah, those will go down in
the
price.
prices are always coming down.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
You might be able to pick up a 2000 series at some point for less than $500.
The also referencing the putting baseball cards in spokes. Now
Where'd
Ian,
you get that?
Ian
Yeah.
supplied this image for me.
Okay, so now you know who to blame.
I did not realize the context. Ian just gave this image to me. Apparently, this is like the world's most expensive baseball card.
That is a Mickey Mantle rookie card.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in and of itself,
And so this is kind of I didn't realize that this was supposed to be a troll image, but apparently it is.
there's a very funny feeling. You can make anything worth anything if you can convince enough people that something is worth something, right?
Yeah.
And there is a weird feeling that I have, because a lot of times those things are built on rarity, like how many of those things exist out there in the first place, right? But that picture, I'm sure that if that isn't just somebody having mocked up something as a gag, if that literally is like a re-release of a Mickey Mantle rookie card that Topps did or something that was like, oh hey, we're gonna print these legacy cards to kind of
maybe
remember we used to make we made all these.
It looks
back in
like
the day.
something you could print off in a regular printer, to be honest.
There's that too, and it kind of made me feel like the relative value of these things. I've long since kind of felt like this maybe isn't as big a deal or as important as we definitely were making it all out to be when we were very young. And
well, there's a really interesting documentary I actually saw a few years ago about the baseball card sort of phenomena, and it was one of the first sort of big, I guess, like fan culture bubble things where it was just like, you know, there's these cards, and you know, say what you will about the ridiculous prices that trading card, you know, Magic cards and Pokemon and all this stuff get up to. At least there is like a game. There's a thing you can do with the cards.
Yes.
Like it's not just collecting the cards,
Yep.
although people do that. And the value of a particular card, it doesn't necessarily have a direct correlation, but there is a correlation between the value of the card and the actual, like, how good it is in the game of Magic.
Sure. Yep.
Whereas with baseball cards, it's like purely a rarity and collectability thing.
Yeah, because you're tying it to the idea of, especially when it's rookie cards, because like the Wayne Gretzky rookie card was the same way, right? You get a Wayne Gretzky rookie card and it was worth like a lot of money. But at the time, like everybody knew Gretzky was good. At the time, that card would not have been worth a shit ton of money. It would have been kind of worth what it was worth.
Right, that's the whole, yeah.
Right, and it's just that he turned out to be an even more amazing player than he was in his rookie year. So therefore, now we ascribe more value to that because less people held on to their collections, and therefore it's hard to get one of these things. And you know,
but like, I mean, back in the day with baseball, like back in the day there was no not regulation, but like there was no even really expectation of regulation other than sort of goodwill, I guess.
Yeah.
And so like there was all sorts of there was sort of scandals with, like, I think it was whatever, Top Deck or whatever. There was like the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card.
Okay.
They just like printed off sheets of that card. Like that was the most valuable card, and so like we'll just print off a bunch of those.
We make that card, so why don't we just print off a ton? Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's part of the whole thing with, like, you know, Wizards of the Coast deliberately doesn't acknowledge the secondary market, even though it obviously exists, and they don't acknowledge that cards are sort of worth money.
Yeah.
Even though they obviously are, and they do the secret layers that are obviously worth money and stuff. But this idea that, like, this idea that the company that's printing the cards could just print off a whole, Wizards of the Coast could just print a whole sheet of Black Lotuses and sell each one for $500,000.
Sure.
Or whatever, $50,000 to make a little money. Theoretically, they could.
Yep.
But they have to sort of make sure that there's always that they can kind of avoid any even sort of suggestion that they would do that.
Yes.
That they don't even acknowledge that cards have a value other than their trading value.
I mean, it'd be very funny.
Pretty sure Pokemon has deliberately printed off more cards.
Yeah.
Too.
Pokemon's done the other thing. Yeah, Pokemon cards, they basically don't want them to have value.
Yeah.
Because they care more about people playing the game than the collectors.
And I can't even say that, like, these GeForce cards will have any value except for what it will be demonstrated that someone is willing to pay for them. Right. If
my understanding was you could only get them through special means.
Right.
They're giving them away at conventions.
Yeah,
and
as
stuff.
promo items and like which makes me think of Tim Hortons hockey cards.
Right.
Right. Because those ostensibly have very little value in themselves as well. Why? Because they're hockey cards that are made by a food distributor.
Had IGA hockey cards, and the only food chain restaurant collectible thing I had was McDonald's Pogs.
Sure. Wow. But also, there is a whole market of people out there who do collect Tim Hortons hockey cards, or who collect the McDonald's toy line, or who collect like whatever, right? There's always a market of people who collect whatever.
Yeah.
And there has been a demonstrated thing apparently that there are some Tim Hortons hockey cards that are worth some money. Like that they would be worth about the same amount of money that you might find for it. Not like, $100,000 for a Tim Hortons hockey card, but like this specific card, this foil card, whatever that you got for like buying a pack for $1.50 or whatever, that card's worth $8. Why? Because they didn't make many of them, and there are people there who are willing to spend $8 on buying that foil off of you. And therefore, that's about, so here we have between up to $5, right, for some cards. And so, there's just like it's like that was always seen as collecting anything from a food manufacturer was always seen as like base. It was always like when you would buy O-Pee-Chee hockey cards, nobody wanted those when I was collecting them because O-Pee-Chee hockey cards were like generally getting packaged with gum.
Right.
And so because they were being packaged with something that was food based that would get its like crud all over the card, you're already getting cards that are ruined right out of the package because they've touched something that is a foreign object. And so we were all very smug assholes about it back when I was in grade 6, about like, oh no, we don't touch those. We collect Pro Set. Actually, we don't even collect those anymore. We collect Upper Deck because those are more expensive, so therefore they're better.
I think somebody sent us a pack of like Magnum PI cards.
Yeah.
With gum that's like 30 years old.
Yeah.
That like was just like shards of pink powder.
Yeah, I kind of remember.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Anyway, the final story, which is was Nelson's story about or interview with his friend who is or was a Bungie employee, and it was very interesting. And as you might have guessed by the timing of this is something that Nelson's been actually working on for a couple weeks now. He sort of proposed the idea and talked to his friend about doing it and what the requirements would be, and then we sort of came up with a bunch of questions that might be interesting to answer, and then he asked them and then wrote it all up and everything. And he was like, it wasn't quite ready for last week.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, is it okay that if we don't do it last week, we'll do it this week? And I was like, I think people will be still be interested in what's going on at Bungie for like a while still. So I think we'll be okay. It's very, very interesting. Thanks a lot to Nelson for doing this. Thanks a lot to the interview subject who was able to give us some insight. The insight that I found particularly interesting was talking about that apparently Bungie was doing tons of these test projects. So they were working on spent a ton of money and time on sort of a bunch of these
game incubation
projects that didn't come to fruition, which is one of those things where it's like, I mean, that seems like, obviously that's like a good idea.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's like,
you want to mix and match usually, though. You want to like have stuff that is going to go forward because you want stuff that you are getting a cash inflow for, and then test stuff.
It's like something. It's like in order to get a thing that's going to replace or do a new thing, you've got to test stuff. But they seem to, judging from the response here, it seemed to be that they were either doing that too much or letting projects that sort of everybody knew weren't going to go too long.
A lot of games get hit down during the pitch phase because that's when that's when you're trying to make the assumption of like whether or not we should do a thing.
It's like fail fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of idea, right? Where
mean-
it's like, if it's not going to work, let's not put more money into it.
Rockstar made that ping pong game. That's a thing that I always just kind of like bubbles up in my head from time to time, and it's bubbling up again now, right? Where it's like Rockstar, who makes Grand Theft Auto and who made Red Dead Redemption, and am I correct about that?
I believe so.
Yes. And then they made a ping pong game briefly for like a period of time that was like, you can play ping pong, and it's like, why did this big? We always kind of marvel at that with things like where there's like Ubisoft made Child of Light. And it was like a small project within the company.
Game
where they
Freak
were,
makes things that are not Pokemon as
Yes.
part of like have teams
And-
inside that are meant to work on non-Pokemon projects.
yeah, and I like that thing of the because I was sitting here thinking like, well, what would you actually make? What would Bungie actually make if they were kind of all in on Destiny? It's like fucking anything. They could decide that they wanted to make like a plant growing simulator or something, just because they're like, that's what we wanted to do. And yeah, it's not even Destiny themed. We just wanted to do something different, and we have a small team that was working on different, and we liked the idea, and so we developed it and we put it out there. We hope you enjoy it. Like, why not?
I think, forget Marathon or whatever, but like, I think, if you went to any, especially, Mac gamer, who was, playing Mac games, especially like in the 90s, be like, they could come up with, 3 or 4 Bungie games that they would love to see them revisit.
Please make Myth again. It's like, really? Okay.
Myth, Oni.
Yeah.
All this stuff.
Isn't there always a bunch of people trying to remake Myth? Or a sequel to Myth or something?
Myst, I think you might be thinking of specifically.
They're
Myth
not the
was
same thing.
Myth was an RTS.
But yeah, so it'd be interesting. It would be interesting to see. Maybe one day we'll see some of these. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of some of these prototypes. But it would be neat to see what was in production.
For people who are leaving as well that thought they had a good idea but Bungie didn't want to make it, obviously then all that work becomes property of Bungie. But how much of those mechanics might they be like, I walk away from, I'm no longer working for Bungie, I still want to make a game that has these kind of mechanics. Well, I'll try to do it up myself, and I'll try to do it in a slightly different way, and and maybe I can create something out of it that's interesting.
If that's the thing that happens, we won't hear about it for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
In fact, if the whole like, maybe one day we'll learn about these, that could be anywhere upwards of 10 years before that information kind of like starts to finally leak out.
And it's, one of the things that I will say that was eye-opening, I guess, and also sort of was a little bit of a bummer. Even more so than Bungie stuff was anyway. But when I was looking, we weren't quite sure how we were going to present this. I think we ended up just having Nelson with just like the background, just doing it, which I think
I like the aspect.
I thought that worked really well.
It looks nice visually.
Yeah, and it just sort of illustrates it's kind of a different thing, but we weren't quite sure how to do it, and so I was looking for something like graphics and things, because this is kind of a story that it's difficult to figure out what graphics you would want to show, because obviously the subject is anonymous, and a lot of the things they're talking about are things that aren't actually, like, I can't show like a headline of it because it wasn't something that was being reported on.
I guess you could show a picture of a boot. There was a boot talk.
Yeah, that's true. But one of the things they talked about was that the rank and file were dutifully executing orders from leadership, but that leadership never seemed to face any consequences for the failures, which is
not surprising these days.
Strange and unusual, and what because in that, but the context of that was looking back, right? Because of course this stuff all came to a head with the sort of Destiny 2 going end of life and or being whatever, not shut down but finished development, and them laying off 292 employees in Washington State, and then a bunch more. So they did a whole bunch of layoffs.
Yeah.
But the thing that I had kind of forgotten because frankly there's been so much layoffs and stuff, is that in 2003 and in 2004, Bungie did layoffs, had already been doing layoffs. Like they did 100 people in 2003 and 100 people in 2004, or more. So like, this isn't, I think people who were sort of paying attention to Bungie probably didn't see this as like a big surprise.
Like 20 years ago?
So you said 2003, 2004.
Sorry, I always do this.
2023.
2023.
Okay, cool. That makes
2024.
way more sense
Yeah.
to me. I'm like,
Sorry.
that's a long
This-
time ago.
this-
I always
does-
had that problem.
This does line up with what they were
2023.
saying, where it's like people have been getting laid off consistently. And I'm like, okay, so that
It's
lines
that-
up. That it's like
it's-
about 100 people every year are getting laid off from this company.
And yeah, and like that's right when the layoffs were right when Sony bought them. I mean, like, we're not going to change anything, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And then like, well, okay, now you guys, that last expansion wasn't very successful. Now we've got to start, doing
Yeah.
stuff. And then when the final shape came out, which was the sort of end of the arc that had been happening in Destiny, that was sort of a big finale thing.
Yeah.
So some people argued that the game's story maybe should have stopped there. That's whatever. But apparently, even in the lead up to that, people knew, like, they were already talking about, like, it's weird how a bunch of people working on Final Shape and haven't heard about what they're working on after the Final Shape.
Yeah.
Normally, by this point, we would be planning what's going to be happening after. Why hasn't anybody been told? And it's like, oh, I see. Because a bunch of people. And then not only people being laid off, but also people being transferred from Bungie just sort of into Sony in general.
Yeah, got to get someone to work on Concord.
Yeah.
It's very it's weird. I talked about this last time, but it's like you naturally start to think, well, okay, but they're laying off services people. They're laying off people where they're like, oh, this is we're laying off redundant effort because we want to integrate accounting in-house. We want to integrate marketing in-house. We want to integrate other salespeople in-house or IT in-house or whomever, right? We want to put these people all under the control of Sony instead of having them working for the studio themselves. The studio should just be consisting of people who, program the video game. That's all that should be, right? And it's like, well, no, because you're going to have people who manage them, and you're going to have people who manage those people, and you're going to have people who are like the producers and And yeah, there's you also laying off 100 people in 1 year. That might catch all the services people in one go, because you only need, for a very large organization,
like
you might
Bungie-
only need 20 people to work in an accounting
Yeah.
department maximum.
Like, Bungie's a big company, but it's not that big a company.
Exactly, right? So it's like there wouldn't be, oh, they laid off all the accountants. It's like, that's 100 people. Like, why would they have 100 accountants working for them? They wouldn't need that kind of people. So it's like you have whoever it is that they were getting rid of, clearly there were a lot of development people in the mix, I'm sure, in that one. And then, of course, hey, you've already gotten rid of all your accountants the first year. So next year it is all devs again. It's all people who are working in like different parts of the dev pipeline, whether they're a writer, an artist, or a coder, or any of those kind of things. And yeah, just the kind of the chase of, we're still just trying to just purge people from the thing. Who don't we want to be on this list? We have to make this leaner for some reason. Anyway.
Have you heard? GameStop is Uber Eats now?
It's available. I feel like maybe people thought that GameStop and Uber Eats were like merging or something. It's just GameStop is available on Uber Eats now.
Uber Eats GameStop now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I guess the idea of
You call it Stop
There were-
Uber? We'll call it Stop Uber.
There
That
were
sounds
5
good.
coming up with the same
Yeah.
start line.
the idea of things that aren't food being delivered by food delivery companies is not that
No.
you can do that stuff, but obviously this was just a fun thing to do. And now you wrote the original. Did you write the original? You wrote
I wrote 4 of the original.
4 of the original ones.
Some we didn't use.
And was your intention to just like, here's a bunch and we'll choose one?
Oh no, well, oh yeah, okay, yes. My whole intention to begin with was the first one I wrote was GameStop just shit out a tweet announcing that they're now working with Uber Eats because it proves that you can find it. They're proving that you can always find a way to spend twice as much money on a bad idea or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever it was basically meant to be like, hey, guess what? Now you can spend way more money on on supporting Uber Eats as a company or any of these kind of DoorDash things, right? And then also dumping more money into GameStop by spending money at their location as well. And I was just kind of like, I'm really mad about this existing as an idea that this is what's happening. Because I hate all this shit. And then I was like, well, there's got to be something funny I can say about it. So we threw that one away and came up with some other ones about how like, you can just learn to digest plastic. And like,
I think GameStop tweet had something to do with like, what's your excuse to not buy physical now, or something silly like that. And it's like there's lots of reasons why people don't buy physical.
For one thing, you don't sell physical PC games anymore, my guy, because nobody manufactures them.
So anyway, yeah, we ended up. So
did you hear though about the person who's made cards for their PC games that goes into a
made a little card reader thing?
Card reader, so it opens up their game on the computer.
Yeah, there's
just like a little like USB key thing.
It looked
RFID.
like kind of like big cartridges.
Yeah, they're probably
tiny
RFID
discs.
or NFC or something like that, where you boop them and then they
the game's
You
not
plug
actually
it
on the
into
thing.
a device.
Oh, you do plug it in? Is everything loaded into the? See, this is the thing. There's I was watching the Retro Collective on YouTube, and they have a whole setup where they have an arcade machine now.
Oh yeah,
there's
there
a
you go.
Mister.
Yeah, so they are actually SSDs.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's a cool idea.
And then it auto starts the title once it's pushed in. That's kind
really
of a
cool.
fun
Yeah,
idea.
like it looked really cool.
I mean, there's a reason why we went away from cartridges. They tend to be quite expensive.
Yes, and old SSDs would probably still be an expensive investment in some ways. It's $25 maybe for like an old 64 gig SSD or something. But yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Bijou had a bunch of these, which I'm assuming he was like, here are a bunch of options.
Pick one, yeah.
And then I saw that and I was like, this is funny. I'll write a bunch more. Like I wrote like 4 or 5 more.
Yep.
And I'm like, now let's just, and then we'll choose a bunch and then we'll just like do them all.
Yeah.
In sort of one of those, almost like one of those, alternate take things you see on like the outtakes of movies or something.
Oh yeah, let's go back to the station house.
And so yeah, wait,
Yeah.
Including the one that Bijou was saying, here are a couple other ones that didn't make it in. GameStop just announced their availability on Uber Eats. So if you're hard up to wash down your next double cheeseburger with a Funko Pop, you should actually reconsider your choices a little.
Yeah.
And GameStop just announced their availability on Uber Eats. So while you may be running out of edible food in your neighborhood, you can always learn to digest plastic instead.
Mm-hmm.
I cut stuff up in the edit, so it definitely felt like a time loop that you were stuck in.
Nice.
And because it's the coming up, and then you hit the ChillPoint 2026 logo, and then usually the after show starts.
Yeah.
The after show started with the coming up that got flubbed.
Nice.
Do you want to? I think it interesting to talk about. This rarely we get a chance to do this because this is also seeing a bit behind the lens of how you write comedy, and kind of things that I've come to learn over the years. That it's like certainly, like I told you what my initial one was, which was GameStop just shit out a tweet announcing their availability on Uber Eats, proving that you can always find a way to waste twice as much money on the same amount of time, in the same amount of time. And I'm like, okay, that's a snarky statement. Is it funny? I don't know if it's funny. I do know that it's snarky. So I was like, okay, that I don't know if that's usable, but we'll leave that at the top. And then some of these other ones, the one where I was like, if you're going to wash down double cheeseburger with a Funko Pop, I was like, well, if I could make a play on words about having a pop, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, so that's kind of, it's almost a half joke. It's not really a full joke. And I'm like, And I'm like, I need to finish this thought. I'm like, you should probably reconsider your life choices. And I'm like, okay, that is another piece of snark that isn't quite comedy yet. It is a thing that's like, feels like it's trying to turn into a joke. And they were not really there, and that's like I was fine with those two coming out because it's like those are not strong.
Yeah.
But when we were working in the room to be like, what do we want to say about ordering a pizza on Uber Eats? And then Ian wanted to make a nun pizza with left beef.
Yeah, that was a very popular
Right,
one of the ones that people commented on quite a bit.
And one of us said, "That's for your friend Master Chief," and I think I said, "You mean Master Beef?" And then we were like, wait, no, nun pizza with Master Beef is actually really, really...
Yeah, it's a really strong one.
That's a really unexpected, funny thing to hear.
Even if you don't know the meme reference for it, it still sounds really funny.
Is it an excellent joke? It's not an excellent joke, but it's more of a joke than some of the stuff I was writing to begin with. And
I would say it's an absurd joke.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, it's what, when you hear it, you didn't know it was coming. And so to actually hear it, you're like, wow, okay, that took me off guard, and I actually do find that kind of funny. It's like, it's not going to clear the room, right? It's not everyone's rolling in the aisles, but it is like it's going to be a good chuckle, be like, "Oh, fuck, that's okay. Yeah, that's pretty good." And I like the kind of through doing this what we did this time through the process of let's talk about and have like 9 or 10 different things and then pull some out that don't actually fit. I really liked how we all buckled down to try to make something funny happen. Like through multiple coming ups, because it did feel at least like we were workshopping jokes and trying to, what makes this funny, or what's the dial that you turn that actually picks this up a little bit to actually make it feel more like it is a real joke. Because sometimes if you just write like, here's the snarky thing I can say at the end of a video, is that really as satisfying as, no, I came up with a really clever turn of phrase or like anything along that line.
You write a weekly show, I think that you just end on some stuff that's not always like top tier.
That's Saturday Night Live in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
Like it's,
It doesn't
the
mean
reason
it's
why
not,
they
it doesn't
have
mean
the
it's
10
not
after 1
funny.
slot,
It doesn't
right?
mean you can't be snarky. I'm just saying sometimes you're not always going to hit way up here.
Yeah, you're going to be like, sometimes my writers just filled a page to turn in for the assignment, like they do for Surprise Inspection on Seth Meyers, right? Like, it's like sometimes these are just not jokes, but they feel like jokes, but they're not jokes. And why were they on the page? It's like because they did feel like jokes, and maybe you make a better joke because you see a joke, and that's what we end up doing. So yeah.
Anyway, here's a couple of stories that didn't make it into the episode. Starting with the University of Silicon Valley,
Does not sound like a real place.
which is it's a real place.
Okay.
It is a.
I don't believe you.
They are a university that they're doing what they're calling the Max Achievement Scholarships, where now it's a. I'm assuming this is a game development, the University of Silicon Valley. I'm assuming it's some sort of game related university. Anyway,
it is hard to tell.
The deal is that you get you can apply for scholarships if you have achieved made certain achievements in video games. For instance, 115 advancements in Minecraft. Terraria, Don't Starve Together, Ark Survival Involved, all bosses defeated plus Ascension. No Man's Sky, all expeditions completed plus. So the idea here is that by doing these things, you are demonstrating, you're demonstrating principles like progressive systems mastery, progression mastery, survival optimization, team collaboration. I can see a certain amount of in order to do this thing, you have to have understood the systems involved in this thing that may have some correlation with certain
Or I might have
academic
looked up a walkthrough.
Well, there is that. That's a dangerous thing.
From
too,
what I-
right?
from what I
I'm just
understand-
saying, I don't think that I could look up a walkthrough for something that you might need to highly optimize in order to get an achievement and still not understand the optimization that I did.
Yeah.
From what I understand about, for instance, Minecraft, like
I didn't even know why Minecraft had
the Minecraft advancements thing isn't so much that knowing what to do. It's figuring out how to actually do it, because some of them are very complicated.
Sure, and a walkthrough on the internet will tell me how to do it.
Right.
But actually doing that is I don't know.
There's
I'm sure there's
so-
ways to do it.
Yeah.
But
I'm not saying that like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there are definitely achievements in video games that I know are a lot of hard work, and if you told me that, oh, we accept people putting in the time to do achievements to get a scholarship because we know that they will go through the hard work of doing a thing, I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
What I'm saying is James and Serge possibly should be contenders for this.
Have they gotten all their achievements?
If James wants to go to school,
I'm
maybe-
sure they've got. I'm pretty sure they did a full achievements run at one
Yeah,
point.
I think they did, because there was like one thing that he had to pick up
And-
underwater or something.
And
one
Uno
time. He got
too.
so
Yeah,
excited.
I think they did like a get every item in the game at one point.
So there's a not every science fair is going to have
A potato clock.
fucking CRISPR. Like, it's not going to have I'm not saying CRISPR-Cas9 was discovered at a science fair, but it's like not every science fair is going to have a student that's of such preternatural knowledge or innovation that they've devised a brand new way to desalinate water or something along that line, right?
Okay.
Like, a lot of that shit's going to come out of pure research institutions from people who've been kind of putting their heads down for 5 years to like work towards a PhD, or it's going to come from privately backed or publicly backed research and that kind of thing. The esports is an example of, you can get a scholarship to university on an esports team because a profit motive was identified in the value of supporting this kind of play. Because we're like, we can make some money on the back of these kids and we can attract more money and notoriety to our university by having these kids play esports games just as much as we can if we make them play football or soccer or cricket or whatever the hell in your part of the year, right? So it's like somebody identified that if we can have a collegiate esports team and participate in these things, and these people get good at it, that's fine. It's good for our reputation and our ability to like attract more interest and to get booster money and to maybe attract sponsorship or whatever. All of that exists as a thing.
Yeah.
This is
So this is not esports.
this is not esports, but this is attached to that idea of like, hey, are you a student that has won at X science fair, right? You won a gold medal in the Mathlympics or whatever the fuck, right? It's like, if you've done enough of these achievements through different categories of stuff that you've been doing, you can win a scholarship to this university's program. Why? Because we want to welcome the winner of the latest artistic you painted a really good picture, and we're like, we see value in this kid. Blue ribbon, here's $10,000. Come to our university for the first year and learn how to be an even better artist. I get that. And this is a similar kind of thing of, well, we're a for-profit school that is trying to attract people to come sign up for shit. And what if we just pick really hard things that are in video games that attract people to come do? Because no kid is in an art club and saying, I fucking hate doing this, but you know what? If I just draw a good enough thing, if I just fake my way through drawing Van Gogh's A Starry Night, but make it like green and yellow instead of blue, then they'll totally accept. Like, no one's trying to fake their way into art school and not like art. There's kids who might try to fake their way into art school because they love art, but they're not going to do it because they hate it. And I'm like, right, if you have kids who are playing Minecraft or playing like stuff, I guess,
Ooh, Tears of the Kingdom.
100% map and shrine completion, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean, a lot of people have done that.
right. It's like, so you can say, I'll sign up, and if I check enough of these boxes, here's all this shit that I've done in video games, this school is saying, yes, we value this. We will admit you to our school. It will cost you $10,000.
Okay.
Or we'll pay for your first year, but your subsequent years are going to cost you money after that. I look at this and feel like this isn't any different than a lot of the other stuff that we've seen before in different fields. It's just weird because it is video games, and University of Silicon Valley doesn't even feel like it should be a video game university.
It is BA of game art, BA of game design,
Right.
BA of digital animation.
It's a
like it
technical university.
Yeah,
They decide they want to concentrate purely. It's like Sheridan College in Toronto being like incredibly focused
Okay.
on animation and 3D animation.
The mastery tier list looks a lot like we needed something for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because PlayStation 5 Platinum trophies, honestly, not hard. I don't know how hard the Xbox One is of getting a gamer score of that. I think Steam 3 Perfect Games 100% achievements is also not particularly difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
It
Hades, all prophecies fulfilled.
Pretty sure he did that.
Yeah.
The first one, I'm still working on the second one.
also, once you do this,
All achievements all through
Although
across
they want that
across
on
all
a-
Dark Souls games.
They want that on a Steam profile, so
Ooh, 112 completion of Hollow Knight. Have you got that? You got the full 112%?
112.
Plus the Pantheon of Hollow Nest.
Oh, definitely not the Pantheon. I'm not done that. I think I'm at like 110 or 11.
all golden strawberries in Celeste.
Oh God, no.
Cuphead S rank. Adam could get in on that.
Yeah.
He's got that.
I mean, you already should just have a Boshi tier. Right? Boshi tier? What is
Yeah,
it? again?
Yeah, if you
I mean,
have
do they have the Boshi game in there somewhere?
if you are the Boshi,
Yeah.
you should definitely get a full ride.
I guess it's like, then it's like, you did
100%
this.
Subnautica.
Well, I wouldn't say
Congratulations.
necessarily full ride is right because it's just it's a scholarship. Scholarships can range anywhere from like we gave you $50 to
but I'm saying if
cover
you,
certain
yeah,
things.
I'm saying if you're the Boshi, you should get a full. That
Yeah,
that should
oh,
get you a full
absolutely.
Yeah,
ride.
you're one of one, right?
In fact, they should also pay for his dorm room.
yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, full rides will pay for like that kind of thing. You get a dorm room and you'll get your meals and everything paid for. Full ride means all expenses paid trip to this university for a year. That's kind of nice, right? Like the idea of like it's like an all-inclusive resort. All your drinks are free.
I mean, okay, I remember going to college and having a full ride would have like helped certain stressors, but it wouldn't have. It's almost like saying, "Oh, I get everything I want. Cool, thank you for the new stress in my life."
Right. Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
school's
You gotta
still a
maintain your
stressful
thing.
environment of a thing that you're doing.
And you still like if you go to this school for whatever reason, you get that scholarship. Maybe it covers your first semester, or covers the first year, whatever it covers. You're going because you're saying, "Hey, I want to work in the industry." You just said BA of game art, BA of game design. I'm like, oh, those are not. How well can I play the next update of Minecraft?
No,
right?
but
None of that has to do with
what
that at all.
what they're saying is the skills that you learn during in getting this far in the game
Yeah.
will have some, you've proven
It'll
that
have
you have
some
a certain
impact
amount
of a thing. I'm saying you can look up a walkthrough and not learn shit.
It's true.
And
Yeah.
you went on a very passionate speech about how school works.
Yeah, I mean, like pointing out that 112% in Hollow Knight with the Pantheon of Hollowness completed, right, is like, I don't care how good the walkthrough is you look up. I could have a whole walkthrough for Silk Song,
Sure,
and I
that's
would
a-
still get my ass kicked.
That's a skill-based thing.
Yeah, right. It's like you have to
But
play and practice and get better.
I would also argue that doing that in Hollow Knight wouldn't help you program either.
Correct?
No.
No.
In
It gives you an
fact-
appreciation for how something is made.
Yeah. So
And I mean, it's kind of like listening to Adam talk about fighting games, where he'll talk about how like the iframes this and whatever, like basically talking about like everything in that a player can do in the game, the way that the moves work and the way that the way that you can interrupt something, and like, all the mechanics of a fighting game. You can understand that at a very deep level. And that is the more important thing to understand, because then you know how to apply that against different fighting games operate like this, that they concentrate more on this, they concentrate more on that. And you start to understand the systems, and you start to see the system more than you start to see just Chun-Li kicking people.
Sure.
And also, I mean, but also there is that aspect, like, and I think Adam does talk about this in on Okioki, is just the idea of that sort of learning process, and the idea that, you know, that you're going to start bad, and you're the process of going through, like, that's there's value in that, and that is an experience that can, you know,
You
can
only
be
learn
applied
through
in
mistakes,
different ways.
You,
Sorry?
you learn more through mistakes than you do through perfects.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's like, I don't know. I sometimes think about, like, there's a certain, you know, I remember, like, when I was in high school and stuff, like, especially when I was in, like, the last couple of years of high school.
Yeah.
I was kind of done with it. Like, I was like, ugh, you know. And there, you know, just you know, I did fine, but I was definitely not an enthusiastic kid at that point for it. I was definitely ready to move on. But there's a certain aspect where it's like at high school you learn all sorts of important, you know, you learn lots of academic stuff, and you learn all sorts of different things. But one of the things you learn, and it's sad that this is something that is actually important to teach people, but one of the things you learn is that sometimes, in order to sort of progress in life, you have to do just kind of put in a bunch of bullshit time doing a thing that is difficult and not very pleasant.
Yep.
And doesn't really have a strong point, but you're going to have to do it.
Yep.
And there is an aspect of just, like, showing that you are prepared to do that. And showing that, you know, and when you get out into the world of business, that's going to happen. You know, if you're in, you know, if you were somebody who, you know, didn't, or was always super enthusiastic about your academic career, and then you get into the world of a business, you might not be, like, you know, your boss asks you to do something you don't want to do. You can't just sort of be like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's a shame that we have to teach kids that sometimes you have to do some bullshit, but it is, I think, actually important.
I mean, there's something to be said for, like, I'm willing to put up with a hardship of doing a thing. I also, though, like, because I feel the same way, that it's like, the getting through school, that there are a lot of, I mean, getting through bits of my MIS degree in university was, you know, having a guy tell me before I went into the program, don't worry, you have to do no programming in this entire program. It was like, I feel like the way that military recruiters lie to your face about the things that, you know, don't worry, you'll get, like, a cushy desk job, you get to fly all over the world, you have fucking free blowjob machine. Like, it's like all the stuff that they'll tell you that is not true.
Then they shipped you straight to Vietnam.
Yeah, right. And it's like, same thing. This guy set up a whole thing, be like, there's no programming in the MIS courses. It's all about this. It's all about theory. It's all about these other whatever things. Then you get into the course and you discover, no, there's tons of it. And I hate it. I didn't want to learn VB6. Are you out of your mind? I didn't want to learn VBA. And it's like, why am I having to do this? I hate this. And my dad's like, well, you know, sometimes when you're going through this stuff, you have to learn how to do these things, and you have to do all this other effort and do all these other things. Like, Dad, I'm not ever going to use this in, like, anything that I do. I'm not going to take jobs that make me want to program. Well, you're probably going to have to take a job that makes you want to, like, he was like, in order to support his point, he was going to say the same thing over and over to me, to be like, no, I'm right and you're wrong. And, you know, I haven't had to have a job where I've had to do Visual Basic for any reason whatsoever, proving that I'm right and I won. Now, here's the second part of this.
All right.
Is that
what did you have to do to set up our server?
I didn't have to do Visual Basic, let me tell you.
but it's programming.
Yeah, there's a bit. I didn't have to write any actual code. And that's what I consider programming, right? But the other thing is though, that I also feel like I don't like that we have to have a world where it's like, hey, don't worry, you're gonna have to put up with a whole bunch of bullshit in your job, because that's how that stuff is. I would much rather live in a world where it's like, is there somebody out there that wants to do that bullshit for you, or can do that bullshit? Then they'll do that, and then they'll get rewarded for doing that. And, you know, why does it have to be that I have to take on every aspect of this role? I'd much rather live in a world where it's just like, I have a place to live, and I have food, and I have all the things that I need for whatever, and what do I want to do for my day-to-day? This. What I'm doing right now, I want to do this for my day-to-day. All the things that I do around here are the stuff that I like doing, and I'm like, I'm glad I lucked into that. I'm glad I found this job to do a lot of those things, and I don't have to write Visual Basic. And so, therefore...
I think you'd be pretty safe about not writing Visual Basic wherever you go at the moment.
Yes. Pretty sure.
That's more about Visual Basic than it is about you, though.
Yeah. But I just think it would be nice for us as societally to us all to understand that it's like there's going to be somebody out there that is like, oh, but I do want to write that code for you, or I do want to write whatever. It's like, I want to give you the chance to do that, and then I want to make sure that you have compensation, whether that's money or whether that's like a place to live or whether that's food or whatever it is that you get something out of that supports what you want to do, and then you can kind of like always be doing those things if you like doing them, as opposed to I took this because I hear about a bunch of kids who go into computer science and they're like, I can do the job, I just don't like it, and I'm like, that's not great for them that they're going to put in 20 or 30 years maybe of this because they're like, I heard it's the place to make the most money, so this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'd rather have you live your bliss and not have to think about, but I need this to live, right? So
the biggest takeaway I have of this story is that you could have made that list one of those lists that go around the internet that are like, ooh, have you filled in all of your gamer stats? Like, what kind of gamer are you? Here's the requirements. And it's the same thing. To me, it's like, ooh, let me look at the list. Have I done the things?
They should be.
I'm going to judge which ones you put on this list as well.
They should be like the Last Starfighter.
I was going to say, this does have a bit of a Last Starfighter feel.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you've got all 115 achievements in Minecraft. We need you.
Yeah.
What are we doing? You're going to go down to the mines. What do you think?
You were playing Minecraft, for God's sakes.
At least you weren't playing Minesweeper.
You should have been playing And like, dude, let me tell you, Minecraft was fine, but you should have been playing Deep Rock Galactic. That's going to prepare you for what's really going to happen.
Let's go move on. So, speaking of things that can be problematic for people,
yeah.
Sony is still dealing is there's still this fallout from Sony being like, we're not going to do physical games after 2028 or 2027 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
People are still really pissed off about them for good reason. As a side note, I will say the thing, like, there's, I think it's like the Brazilian government. I don't know, the thing of like consumer advocacy groups being like the idea that Sony should be sort of forced to make physical things, I don't think is kind of a non-starter to me.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think that works.
Well, it smacks a bit of the horse and buggy thing of like, well, no matter what, we have to ensure that the buggy whip manufacturers can still make buggy whips and make sure that people will go buy the buggy whips.
Yeah.
There's a bit of that taste to me. But
what I think from a consumer point would be the thing about would be sort of like forcing, so be like, if they're doing digital things, then there has to be some sort of,
physical equivalent,
or not physical equivalent, but like preservation thing, or there has to be guarantees about how the stuff is going to be distributed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point I want to talk about in terms of this is the problem that Sony has run into. The funny thing is, this doesn't actually just even affect just Sony. It affects anything that Sony cares about, I guess.
Right. Okay.
Is that so? They released that, and of course they got a ton of backlash about it, and they kind of kept quiet for a bit. Like Sony's social media went quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because understandably, people were pissed off at them.
They told people about a fight stick.
So then, the first thing that they posted after about 2 weeks or so was a completely unrelated story.
Yep.
Talking about the Flex Strike PS5 flight stick.
Yeah.
Now, if you are a let's say naive, optimistic social media manager. You post that that tweet or whatever.
Yeah.
And I believe there are 60,000 replies to it. You'd be like,
yeah.
I have so much engagement.
Yep.
Yeah, you would have to be
I have been doing a good job.
a naive one, because if you told me that I posted any kind of social post and I had 60,000 replies, I would be like, fuck, I'm leaving the internet.
Turn off the internet.
I don't want to look at them.
Unplug
I don't
the cable.
believe you.
Yeah.
There's no way that
Yeah,
fight
get
stick.
the internet box and turn it off.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no.
So yeah, as you might guess, of those replies, none of them are talking about the flight stick
Yeah.
No,
or
all
the
of
fight
them,
stick.
all of them are talking about physicals.
All of them are talking about how angry they are about. They're like, we don't care about this.
Yeah.
But the problem is now that this is like, not only is this messing up Sony's social media, like Sony can't talk about anything on their social media
Good.
without it getting hammered by thousands of people.
Yeah.
But they even like a game will come out for
Yeah.
PlayStation.
Now, do you
and
feel
Sony's
bad?
social media will be like, hey, check out this awesome new game. Like, if Sony, like, they won't go after just a random PS5 game.
Yeah.
But if Sony's social media wants to be like, retweet, check out this awesome game.
Yeah.
Then it gets.
Yeah, and I do feel bad for the because I think a couple indie games
Yeah.
were like, oh, hey, a lot of people responded. We're really excited because we know that Sony retweeted our thing or did whatever, and then they're like, these are not about us.
Yeah, they
Which
push the button and then just
Yeah.
their hair gets
Because
blown
I
back.
think the other thing that Sony has said is that they don't intend to make their digital games any cheaper when they go digital only, because
No.
the cost of making games is subsidized by the fact that the digital games are the same price as a store version.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not going to go over super well either.
This whole exercise. I mean, two things. I'm like, I hope that the people who are mad at Sony about this continue to just flood them with bullshit. Like, just basically be like, you know what? If you want to make a post about this, every time your head pops up, we're gonna basically just we're gonna just shoot it off your neck. We're just gonna do it every single time, and we're gonna keep it up for a while. But I also know that they don't care. Like, Sony ultimately is like, at that point, could just as easily say, we will go radio silent for a fucking year if we have to. We don't care what these ostensible fans are telling us about what they want in their life. PS6 is going to be digital only. Everything we do is going to be digital only. We are Sony. We're too big to give a shit about what it is that you want.
Have they said PS6 is going to be digital only?
No, but that is what will happen ultimately. If you're not going to make physical, if you're not
Well,
going to make physical games,
Okay. No, because Sony has said their first-party games are not going to be physical in 2028. Not that they're not going to support
I guess that's
physical
true.
games for other people who make them.
yes, that is okay. From what I agree. Right. That doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be like, we won't have a way for you to do this. That doesn't preclude any of that happening. I don't foresee that if your first party choice is that we're going to go digital only, that then you would have a vestigial unit to go to allow for third parties to publish physical discs.
Except they put out a PlayStation 5 that was digital only,
Yes.
and then put out a separate hard drive or disk drive that you can buy for it.
Could slap on.
And
to
so
it
I
later.
could totally see them still doing that in the future.
That might be an option. Yeah, like
And
it's
it
an
might-
interesting option.
And I could even see like some sort of weird like EU regulation thing where like they have to put out a drive, and they'll make like a crappy drive that they put out and they like only sell like 100 of. And they'll be like, well, we had to do it.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird, right? Because this is such a weird situation. Because on the one hand, I'm like, I am all for consumer protection, I'm way more for consumer protection regulation and stuff. Like I'm
Sure.
like introduce more of that to make it like very, very clear to people that this is how things are, and that's like you have to support the consumers in doing XYZ thing. Like if they buy a digital game, they should be allowed to resell a digital game on a third-party marketplace, like stuff like that. Right, to be like this thing has a value. If they've bought the game, then you have to be able to replace it for them because it's no skin off. It's like it doesn't cost you anything to give them a new copy of the game if they end up losing it off.
I
their
just
system.
don't want us saying things like the PS6 is going to be digital only when
No.
we have no clue.
That's right. That's right.
You can say you believe it's going to be all you want.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't want us saying what we think a system that we know nothing about is.
Yeah.
As if it's fact.
That's true. I have every reason to believe that if they're not going to do first party games as a physical thing, that they're not going to provide the physical means as part of the base unit that comes out for the next console they're going to make. I feel like there's a lot of like. I think there are limits in terms of what you can do consumer protection wise as well. Because I was just sitting here thinking about the idea of if people really liked GameCube discs for let's pretend, and then they were like, well, no, we have to force Nintendo to allow for a way to put GameCube discs on my Switch.
Yeah, like forcing a company to sort of maintain the infrastructure for something that that is not making them any money is a tough, like there has to be a pretty solid, a pretty strong reason for that.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I brought up like the buggy whip manufacturing thing of, this is a vestige of an old industry that's no longer useful. So you can't just say, well, you have to allow this company to maintain levels of doing, because what that leads to is a lot of graft and leads to a lot of like corruption where it's like an industry can't change and grow and your entire economy can't change and grow, because now you're basically saying no matter what, we have to support all of these industries that are making stuff for dead technology or like that kind of thing.
Sure. A reason they might still make a physical thing is if all of their third-party companies said they won't put their game on Sony if they can't make a physical copy.
And that ultimately,
like
I think, is where the power lay.
There are things that could force them to do a thing they don't want.
Like I could see that. I think that would be a much more compelling
I do think
argument
if
than
they're going to
the
go
consumer.
they're going to go physical or digital only on their games, they shouldn't be selling a box with a code at a store. It kind of goes against, like, you're still printing off boxes and pieces of plastic then. And before anyone's like, oh, but then how do people buy games if they don't have a credit card? You can still sell codes at a store without it being in a box.
Yeah. The Nintendo's Game Key card, which is not a new idea. And I like to say that every time now, because it's like this idea of this thing is not a new idea. We've learned that it is a compromise.
It's an in between.
We're not making a supposition that we think that they came with it as a compromise. It's like I think that there's literally been third parties that have said this was the compromise.
Oh, I have no idea about that. I definitely think it is.
I thought we'd learned that, but maybe we haven't. Okay.
I'm not saying we haven't.
Yeah.
I just don't know that that's the thing I've seen.
But I think it's the idea of the reason why it's like, if you're a PlayStation fan and you're like, well, I want to buy the next SMT game. I'm trying to think of who's another big person who's Naughty Dog games. So I want to buy the next remake of The Last of Us for PS6. I want to buy that, and I want to be on a physical disc. So you go to Naughty Dog, which is not owned by Sony. Please tell me they're not owned by Sony.
Naughty Dog is Sony.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I'm
Okay.
sure Sony.
Who makes anything for Sony that isn't owned by Sony these days?
Rockstar?
Let's pick. Yeah. Okay. So let's say that
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 3 is going to come out before GTA 6, and so they're like, everybody says to Rockstar, you better fucking release that on PlayStation 6 on a disc, or else we're not going to buy it. All these people want to play it on Sony, right? They're like, well, we were making it only for Sony because we somehow lost half of our brains in a skiing accident, and so they make
GTA
this.
6 is a PlayStation exclusive when
Is it?
when it first comes out.
So I could just claim GTA 6 then. Let's just say that. But I wanted to pick up something that doesn't exist, so RDR3. Okay. So they're like, this is a Sony exclusive, and all of our fans have now told us, 1.5 million people strong have told us they will not buy it unless it is available. They've all signed a petition, and they've all signed it in blood, and they've said that they will not be buying the game unless it exists on a disc. I'm trying to set some really it's a genie here. I'm talking to a genie, right?
Yeah.
I can see Rockstar then having the ability, the power to go up to Sony and say, we need to make this on a disc, and we need to have a play-to-play on your PS6. Like, I can see them having the power as a thing to be like, you wanted exclusives, then you got to do this. And if enough of those companies came up and said that to them, I could see Sony saying, we will make a weird add-on device that does whatever.
I would argue that, I would guess that if Sony had stats showing that many people are interested in physical things, this wouldn't be a question.
Agreed.
I bet that they have, and we know, we know from, doing store stuff, regardless of what everybody says they want. Mm-hmm. I bet Sony has stats that it's like 10% of people buy physical, or something like that. Like I'm pretty sure this is a purely pragmatic thing.
Yeah, there is a much smaller amount of people.
It is a smaller amount. It is an amount that I've seen said that is obfuscated by the fact that there are things that are only digital in the first place,
right?
And you have battle passes and other DLC digital only content that is mixed in with those numbers.
So then you're seeing like so much money is spent in the digital market,
not really getting,
but a chunk of it is purely digital anyway. Right?
I'm not saying that number is still not smaller or that they wouldn't go with that. Just that some, but I also know that the Xbox came out with a completely like go fuck yourself design of will always be online and you have to be digital only, and that didn't go over well, and then they stopped doing that too. So
now, I might argue that was the zeitgeist at the time, though, is that people were like, wait, what? We always had discs. And then Sony's like, yes, and we support the idea of discs. And so then Xbox had to relent and say, I guess we have to do discs.
Yes, and Sony now is the one saying, what if we didn't do that? And there's a big backlash about it. And maybe that results in the same thing. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they try it and then we watch numbers go down. Or maybe we don't. Maybe they're right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. There has been, so there's another thing that I don't think this has actually become real news yet. It's only a rumor. I think it's still rumored, but a very strong rumor. I don't think it actually, but the rumor is that Xbox is going to be announcing their own thing where it's like a disc digitization.
Right. This is a thing where your disc turns digital.
So basically what they're doing, it's a little bit like the sort of Switch digital lending and stuff. Yeah. Basically what they're saying is that we'll take your disc, you put your disc in, we'll sort of fingerprint the disc and be like, this is yours, and then it'll be digital on the thing, but somebody else could take that disc. You can then sell that disc to somebody else, and they could do it, and it'll actually be like removed from your it will be a digital thing,
right?
But you'll be able to be resold and stuff.
A game key card,
kind of, except your disc would have all the stuff on it, right?
Would it?
Yeah.
I believe the point is
the entire game comes on that disc.
I think the proposition with this is that it's actually like a retroactive thing. Like they can do it for any games that are already out. It's not like a new thing.
They're basically going to use some sort of disc fingerprinting that is already built in.
Yeah.
Individual discs already have a serial number attached, built into them somehow. See, yeah, and like
I said, that's
an interesting idea.
That's a rumor that's people are like, oh man, Xbox is going to come up with this and totally blow Sony away. And then it kind of, as far as I am aware, it hasn't actually come out.
I feel like we'd be hearing like a lot about it if it was a thing that was out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there is a, every media company wants you to buy their thing and then not own it.
Yeah.
I think ultimately that's the world we live in these days. Is like every major media company that makes it, that publishes a thing, wants you to buy their thing and not actually own it.
I mean, fundamentally, when you resell something, the original company isn't making any money off that.
Yeah.
So they're like, at that point, the new person who buys the thing is not their customer.
But it's not even that. I mean, it's like they want. I think I think a major media company, and I don't want to just say like Sony or Xbox or Nintendo or whomever, but I'm like, ultimately I think at like a certain level, the preference is we want you to pay us $100 for this thing and then buy it again and then buy it again and then buy it again, almost like in a rental arrangement, or like it's like you can have this for a year or you can have this for a month or like whatever. I think ultimately it's like we know where the treadmill in one direction ends, and it ends with everybody has to give all their money to these big companies and nobody gets to own anything. And as individuals, we have to turn around and push back to be like, I think I'm allowed to have something. I think I'm allowed to own a thing and have it be mine. Every time I hear about one of these things changing in some way, every time it feels like the knob is being turned tighter on, we want to do this. It's like, I think it is great that there are some people who are pushing back and saying, you have to loosen the knob. We've never liked it like this and we don't want it like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, because like that's the thing. These things happen, and yeah, I get the whole idea of like, oh, the treadmill is this. Oh, companies want to make 100% profits, this and that. But I find a lot of time when we have these discussions, people just jump in and say things like, well, companies want 100% profit margins. Like, yes, okay, but that doesn't contribute to discussion.
No, it doesn't.
It just tries to shut it down.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, everything sucks.
Yeah, and so it's like the corollary, the lesson to learn from that is like, yes, everybody should do what they're doing to Sony right now. They should be sticking it to them in the social medias, and they should be, standing up and being like, this is bullshit, don't do this. We should be, sign a petition or, yell at them in other places, or kind of make things hard and like make things hard on the third parties when they release stuff that doesn't come out with a physical release, and be like, where's your physical release? We want a physical release, and like keep making noise about it, because I mean the alternative is just to roll over and not do anything. And if we let that happen, then it's just like, right, then it just becomes a world of we want you to pay for this and not actually give you anything for it. You don't actually get anything out of it. We just want you to pay me $100 a year for the virtue of owning a PS6.
Anyway, speaking of things that video game companies do that make people angry, build a rocket boy. In the news one last time, maybe more than one last time. I can't imagine they're going to be around for too much longer. Anyway, Build a Rocket Boy, coming to Made Mind's Eye, and has been, shall we say, not been covering themselves with glory lately. So they came out with that expansion a couple months ago called the Saboteur, that was supposed to be like based on the real world situation that they got into where people stole their stuff.
Right.
That nobody believed them about.
Right.
And it didn't seem to be actually based on that very much.
That story.
Yeah.
Right. Something new happened?
So that experiment came out, and it's like, it was sort of like whatever. It seemed to be the general consensus. It's like more of Mind's Eye, which is kind of extremely mediocre. Also, the like saboteur in the thing is like sexy cat burglar lady, which I'm pretty sure
kind of appealing. I mean,
I don't know why you think they would depict it as like some super terrible person or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
puppy kicker.
But they've also there's been a lot of consternation with them. They laid off a bunch of people, and they've been having a lot of fights with the union, the Independent Workers Union of Great Britain, because apparently their team was unionized, which is great. But one of the problems, so they've been fighting, and one of the other things that they sort of are known for doing is that they had, because of this apparent saboteur, they had surveillance software installed on all the developers' computers, which the developers noticed because their computers were running really slow.
I see. Okay.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
So they were so the developers were very unhappy. They laid off a bunch of people, and apparently now in to as part of the marketing for this new expansion, they
Is this expansion about how they really were right, and you'll definitely believe us this time because now we have more evidence? But you
I
have
guess
to buy our expansion again.
So now they have just flown in a whole bunch of influencers to do like a they spent like a last weekend or 2 weekends ago. They flew in a whole bunch of influencers to wine and dine to do like a big show off to all this to show off a bunch of influencers, get them excited about this new thing.
Right.
Which, as they say, is kind of a kick in the teeth to the people who just got laid off. And in fact, there's the union was doing protests outside their building, being like, "Hey, the money, where did the money go? Like, there's money to do this like big weekend razzle dazzle thing."
Yeah, it'd be basically a big PR event to try to convince influencers to say really good things about their game because they gave them a good experience while playing the game.
Right. Jesus.
You say, "We're here to show that joblessness does not mean toothlessness. By taking away our livelihoods, they give us something they never planned on: motivation."
Free time.
Yeah. In my instance, I found people I love from this hell, and I'm not letting any of this go. That's one of the spokespeople. So anyway, Build a Rocket Boy continues to be a very unfortunate company that could have, like, it was like you did this thing, it didn't go, like, it's one of those, like, the game wasn't good.
Yep.
And that could have been it.
Yep.
But you had to...
Because that was also the game where the guy was like, we're getting... people are tanking the review on the game, and it's...
Yeah, that's part of the sabotage.
That's... they hate me, and that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real bullshit.
We'll use the term beleaguered, I guess, maybe for this company now.
Yeah. Beleaguered is probably
Sounds
really
all
good.
right.
Let's...
I've got one, actually.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, 404 Media
Uh-huh.
published a story, put this up on the ChillPoint channel in Slack. That was about a dev on. They had posted on Blue Sky an animation that they said I've been tossing this idea around a lot, and I think it's a cool idea for a video game. Is this anything? And very quickly, they got a lot of responses from people who follow me. Like, not only is this anything, this is something. Like, this is a cool idea. You should think about developing this. I don't know if you have Slack open on here or not, or if there's a way to actually like show this off. But this was or even just go to 404 Media and find it from there. It is a Tetris-alike where you can move the piece around. But when it lands, it actually causes the game board to flip in different ways. And they have it flipping along a 90-degree surface. So it's basically like a big rectangular square that rotates around. And what happened was, also within a couple of days of them posting it to Blue Sky, this animation of this idea they had, people were like, that is a really cool idea. Here, look, I vibe coded it for you.
And this is it.
And I believe the Blue Sky link is in here somewhere. It might actually be that one right there. I thought it was a really cool looking game, and wanted to show off the animation to you guys. So as you can see, as the pieces fall, it causes...
Oh, it's like Tetris, but with no ground.
Yeah.
You're just building a thing.
Yeah, you're making it catch and everything else. And depending on where you land it, it's causing the thing to rotate because you put more weight on that side, right? Mm-hmm. And if you land them dead center, then it doesn't rotate at all. The terrible thing, obviously, is that they published this. This is an animation that they did because they were trying to just kind of prototype out.
They were trying to do a concept piece. Yeah.
And several people immediately were like, "What a great idea! Here, I've already vibe coded it for you." I've already made a thing, and apparently the vibe-coded prototypes don't actually work the same way. They don't work exactly how you see in the whatever, but it is like, well, that's because it's, we got something that doesn't know how to code. And it was just like this story that I saw that, of course, the take on 404 Media is that, AI is leading people to clone games faster than ever. And I believe this is, Freya saying that, what's the fucking point in me publishing anything at this? I feel completely demotivated now because I had this idea. I share it with the people who follow me, thinking that I'll get some feedback as to, I'd play a game like that, or man, that looks too hard. I wouldn't want to do that. Or maybe you should clean up this, whatever. And then you kind of iterate with those ideas and you maybe start to build a prototype. And you start to build a game. And that used to be the thing, because I always come back to threes on this bullshit. And because Asher Vollmer made threes. I hadn't seen it before. Our friend Felix showed it to us, and I was like, this game rules. I, to this day, still play it. I love it to bits. And then immediately after threes was made and put out on the market, barely made it to market, somebody made a clone of it called 1024, and then somebody made a clone of that called 2048.
2048's a very popular version of it, yeah.
Yeah, because you could get 2048. Threes cost like $3, and 2048 was free. And so everybody naturally just went and got 2048.
It's not as cute.
It is not, and it doesn't have music by Big Giant Circles.
Well, there's that too.
And I mean, threes got picked up by Apple Arcade, so there's a threes plus version you can get on Apple Arcade, and that kind of is like that's an example to me that if a game is doing very well in iOS, Apple Arcade will usually go out of their way to try to pick up that game to add it to their stack of subscribe to be able to play any of these games. But when I saw this, I was like, right, it isn't even a thing now of somebody sees your prototype and then they have to sit down, they have to write it out themselves. We're at a point where it's somebody sees your prototype and points an AI, coding AI like Claude or something at it and says, make a game that works like this. No, actually do it like this. No, actually do it like this. Which then leaves the person who came up with the idea being like, I thought I had a cool idea for a game that might make me some money, turning into, if I even try to put the effort in to make this thing now, would I even beat these guys to market? Would it even be the kind of game I want? Would I even get the credit for having an original idea? I would just be seen as the person who ripped off, Tetris Block or whatever the hell it's going to be called, right?
And especially if this one that sort of gets to market faster.
Yeah.
It comes out before and it's it's not as nice.
Yeah.
It's because it's done really fast and it's vibe coded or whatever, and it's like buggy and stuff, whatever. So it's like not only has this concept already been looked like you're copying a thing, but sort of it's almost like the well has already been like poisoned. Like it's like people will have sort of bad association like
with that style of game,
with that game, like that game that one's crappy.
Yeah,
it's because I mean like the idea of Spry Fox had that too
with
right?
Triple Town or something.
Triple Town, yeah. There's a thing where they were working with a company, and then the sort of the relationship with the company ended, but then that company brought out a clone of their game before they actually got theirs out.
Yeah.
Using code and assets and stuff that they had obtained while they were in partnership.
Yeah.
And there was lawsuits and stuff. But you end up with, it's part of the, as much as there's a lot of extremely reasonable pushback against like copyright.
Yeah.
And this idea of copywriting things and stuff can causes a lot of damage, especially when big companies abuse it and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The reason copyright exists is kind of for this thing, was that if you don't have copyright, everybody just has to keep everything secret.
Yeah.
The idea with copyright is that you can put your thing out there and tell everybody how it works.
Yeah.
And in return, you get the exclusive use of that thing for X number of years.
Yeah.
That X has changed over time, and maybe it's too big.
Yep.
we can argue about that. But despite whatever that is, but just this idea that like that's what copyright is supposed to do.
Yeah.
And if we are into this situation, and because we've already things have already been established with like video game concepts and stuff are things that are very difficult to copyright if possible at all. Usually the way you get on video games is like the trademark of the characters or the particular graphics. The actual gameplay being copyrighted is something that is very difficult to. There's certain situations where it has kind of worked, but I hope that we aren't going to be getting into a situation where, in order to avoid this kind of sort of slop coding clone.
Yeah.
People, instead of being like, hey, check out this cool idea I have, people have to do, that there's that stupid thing where, that people who are, we're sort of in a creative field or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a certain ad thing where you get where there's like, where people will be like, oh man, I have this amazing idea for a movie, but I can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Because they'll steal it.
Yeah.
And you pretty quickly learn, if you've spent a lot of time doing scripts and all stuff, that like a random idea for a thing is not actually worth that much, right?
No.
Implementation and all the aspects of it is the part that's actually difficult.
Yeah, because you can sell options on a script. You can always be the thing is like, hey, if you want to be the first one to pick up the script, then by all means, and then they buy a thing from you and be like, if we want to turn this into a movie, then we will. But if the option expires, then somebody else can come out after and they can buy that script away from us or whatever. But it's like I wrote a script at least, and it like kind of represents what I want that movie to be, even if it's not finished yet. And
that's true. Sorry about that. I was actually confusing patent with copyright.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people do.
Anyway,
it's all kind of in a similar
the
realm,
principle's
so.
similar.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I do like the it's like I'm glad that somebody wrote an article about it. Like I'm glad that 44 Media actually said, "Hey, look, this shit is probably going to happen as well." And I think they picked like a very good person to kind of just focus on. It's like very simple idea. Maybe they would not be able to make this game with Tetris pieces because the Tetris company might be like, "This is literally almost Tetris. Like maybe you can't make a game like that specifically and sell it on the market." But maybe they could sell this game concept to Tetris and be like, I just came with a new concept for your game. This is a thing. It's like now it's like people can post a thing online. It took somebody to basically say, I'll take this and I'll ask a coding program to make it for me. And we might eventually get to a point where that's not even necessary, where it'll just get to a point where it's like, if you post something to Blue Sky just immediately there'll be bots on there that just grab things and just turn it into.
Blue Sky just makes a game out of it before you can do anything.
Yeah.
Is there anything uplifting in the news, or are we just gonna?
That's why I didn't want this to be the last story,
downers,
the one that I talked about.
All right,
well, getting bummed out over on this side of the table.
Let's end with
GameStop is on Uber Eats now. That's a big.
You
big
fucker!
news.
I'm gonna punch you.
Anyway,
let's end with it is the 10th anniversary of Pokemon Go.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So in the original, when Pokemon Go first came out, the original trailer for Pokemon Go, it was like, they were really upping the whole, or really pushing the whole AR aspect, right?
Yes.
They're like, you're going around, oh crap, there's like a Pokemon right there.
It seems very much like a hype trailer of what we want you to feel.
Yeah. And then you're working, and then you can have all your friends with you. You're doing stuff, and you're fighting Pokemon together.
Yeah.
And the trailer ended with a crowd of people all running into Times Square, and there was like Mew in the air in Times Square.
Yeah.
Mew or Mewtwo?
Mewtwo, sorry.
Okay.
Mewtwo was in the air in Times Square, and everybody was fighting, like using their Pokemon to fight it and do all this stuff, right? Cool idea, a cool sort of
visually, it was very cool.
Super neat thing. 10th anniversary, they rented out all of the jumbotrons in Times Square and did it for real.
Yeah,
they got everybody to come, and they actually they actually put all the stuff up on screen, and got people to play it.
So if you're playing Pogo in New York, you could go to Times Square on that day and you could be a part of this raid.
Yeah, you could be a part of this raid. Now, obviously,
I wouldn't. I feel like I'd die.
Obviously, Mewtwo didn't actually like float in the air in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But they could do all this whole thing.
Yeah.
Very, very cool idea. And I feel like it's one of those things where that's like a bunch of people at Niantic or whatever. They're not
Scopely Explore.
Yeah,
Scopely
they've
Explore.
pulled Niantic's name off of the thing now and changed it over.
Well, because Pogo and a couple other ones got sold to the Saudi-backed company, Scopely, and then they said we're gonna call that Niantic, but we're not. Now we're just gonna call it Scopely Explore, and Niantic still owns Ingress and Peridot or Peridot. I have no idea how.
Oh, right, it. The one that they made that themselves, and then Ingress that. If anyone's still playing, it's just a hardcore person.
Yeah, they split those things off like that. So, yeah.
But the point being that I can imagine that, like, especially when they were still independent, like, obviously something like a project like this is a huge endeavor to do.
Oh, yeah.
Very, not only expensive, but huge time and effort to put together.
Yeah.
I would guess that, like, a large contingent, if not the entire company, was like, we have to do this.
Yes.
Like, how do we do this? We have to do this. And, sadly, my impression anyway of, they had this thing where the company kind of split, and they bought and stuff, and different, they've said, of course, whenever anything gets bought, they always like, nothing's going to change, blah, blah, blah. I can imagine that in those circumstances, things start getting a lot more sort of mercenary. Things start getting a lot more like, why are we spending all this money on this thing? Why are we, doing all this thing? Is this really going to have a positive ROI?
Should be concentrating on monetization.
All this stuff. So I can imagine that there had to be like that the pressure within the company. And I appreciate, whoever, all the people who are championing this thing. Like, I feel like this is something that could very easily have died in that transition. Being like, maybe we don't spend $10 million on this or whatever it costs to do this. I imagine Times Square billboard space is not cheap.
It's probably not cheap.
Especially for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And it's so the fact that this was still pulled off.
Yeah.
Is pretty great, and I hope that they were happy with the result.
I'm trying to imagine anyway the feeling of, because I've never been to New York and I don't really know what the energy is like in Times Square, but it looks like it's always kind of hopping, but always that people are going different directions and nobody's doing the same thing unless it's New Year's. That seems to be like the only time.
My understanding is you don't want to go down there if it's New Year's.
Yeah, because it is just jam-packed full of people. Everyone's drinking. Everyone's having a great time. They're all focused on the same thing. And it's like you're there, but that's why you get together in crowds, right? That you get together because you want to enjoy the feeling of all of us are doing the same thing at the same time and we're all kind of being a part of this. And it helps the hype, right? And I'm like, as a video game experience, to be able to walk into that space and be like, we're all here for the same thing, and it's to see this is largely a marketing exercise, but is also a video game experience being thrown out in front of us to be like, we finally did it, we finally did this thing, and you could be like, wow, holy shit, this is kind of amazing that all of the advertising turned off for a minute for all the different companies, and it all just became advertising for one thing. But it's like, we're all here for however long this is going to last, and it's all happening in the thing that I do a lot. And I'm like, that is kind of a cool feeling.
Sure. I've seen stories about people who go for the New Year's thing, and a crowd is one thing.
Yeah.
A crowd where you can't move is completely different.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
But I hope, it is this thing that Niantic, I'll keep calling them that for the moment.
Yep.
Because it's like, to me, like that was the thing that I found a little bit interesting about Pokemon Go and the sort of marketing and decisions that they made around it, is that they seem to be more committed to the get everybody out, get them together, get them to do the Pokemon catching. They seem to be more committed to that than you would expect. Like, like there's like during the pandemic, they very grudgingly made a bunch of changes so that you could be farther away from Pokestops and you could do stuff, all this kind of stuff. But the moment they could, or they felt that they could, they reversed those changes because they were like, no, we want people to go outside.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was probably not the best move from a financial or like a getting players, because, less
Shed
people,
a lot of goodwill.
less people could play it that way and stuff. But I kind of respected that they're like, this is our vision for how the game should be played. We're doing this. And to me, like, this is sort of the ultimate expression of that. Like,
I mean,
even because Pokemon Go used to be the thing where everyone, at its peak, there was a big thing of like people go to parks and do stuff.
oh sure, we cut out of work to go catch thing that we saw down the street. In groups too, so it was definitely okay.
This is like trying to sort of bringing that back for like one hurrah.
It would be very easy for me to be cynical about those motives as well. And I think everybody can find a means by which to be cynical about it. But at least that, despite the cynicism of like the other reason why you want a whole bunch of people to go out, it wasn't like with Ingress, where it seemed like Ingress was built on individual activity and like building a map and everything built on like I go out there and I try to control a thing. It was built on, hey, meet people, run into people doing the same thing, and you all get to enjoy a social activity together.
You could kind of, like Pokemon Go, at least when I was playing it, you could have as much social interaction as you wanted, right? You didn't have to be a person who went and joined raids and did whatever. But people often did and made groups. The amount of time that I spent playing Ingress was much shorter. Definitely had a solo aspect to it, but I wouldn't say it's any less of like a community thing of groups getting together. I saw forums and stuff where people were helping each other get like groceries and doing carpooling.
Right.
So because you're essentially on two teams.
Right.
So you owning a thing is helpful to a team aspect in that game as well. I wouldn't say it's got less of a community or the integration of people coming together to do things than Pokemon Go does, only that Pokemon Go is far more popular and known.
Right.
So that those kind of interactions happen more often, I guess.
I mean, at least
you see them as a person who doesn't play either game. You see them.
Right, and they're just more prevalent because there's more people.
And at least being able to trade on, I'm gonna hear a little bit of cynicism then, but for me, but it's like being able to trade on. What do we want people to do? We want people to walk around and help us generate location data. Okay, like
right.
We've now said that out loud.
We know that's the thing that they're doing.
Let's put that aside. On the one hand, you can try to say, well, what's the best way to do that? Well, we make it into we gamify it, and we have people go out on their own and they try to do whatever. Or you say we can use the positive aspects of people loving Pokemon to get a whole bunch more people are interested in this. Like millions and millions of people are interested in this one thing. And if we make it a shared experience, then the positive feedback of interacting with other people who also enjoy the game and who find it a joyful experience to go for a walk and catch Pokemon and see other people doing the same thing and being like, we're all part of the same experience, which is a very human thing, again, to be a part of the same experience. So it's like both of these things are about the cynical idea of we need to get a bunch of people giving us location data. But hey, if we can do it in a way that provides positive feedback to people and is good for their mental health and is good for their physical health, then holy shit, like I'm at least it's like, well, if you're gonna do the really fucking dastardly thing that, to us behind the scenes, at least if it had a positive benefit, I'm like, at least there was that. At least we all got something really good out of it because we enjoyed that part of it too, and that's valuable, I think.
As much as everyone hates to admit it, everything that is bad has something good attached to it. I'm sorry.
Well, some things anyway.
The majority of things that you want to hate on has something good attached to it, and that's why you hate the fact that the good thing exists.
Anyway, that's all for ChillPoint for today. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you haven't seen the episode of Checkpoint, you should definitely checkpoint that out up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/LRRVG. You can also become a member of that channel, and you will get your name in the credits at the end of the episode of Checkpoint, which is always fun. You can also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, or you can buy things from our store.loadingreadyrun.com. All sorts of fun things for you to put on and around your body.
You can put it near your body. You don't have to put it on your body.
It's true. True. You could also put them
you
not
could
on your body.
Fashion some things into a hat.
Or there's even hats that you
there
could
might
buy.
be just hats.
Yeah.
I don't
Things
know.
that you could use.
Are there
as
hats on the store?
There's a toque.
I guess that's technically
There's
a
a
hat.
toque and there's a scarf, and we have about 7 shirts.
Scarf's not a hat, but you could make it one.
That's true. Wrap it around your head enough
Don't-
time to cover yourself.
Don't let anyone tell you
Yeah.
what isn't a hat.
It's winter in the southern hemisphere, so go buy a toque regardless of where you live. That's not really a good reason, but it is winter. It's 5 of winter. It's winter o'clock somewhere, so go buy a fucking toque. And yeah, we have a lot of shirts. We have the panelist mug. There's some playmats on the site as well. Go have a look at all that stuff.
And we will talk to all y'all later. Bye.